Chapter 81. Hey! What is she doing? Is she crazy? Everyone looked at the palace maid in shock, not knowing how to react. The guard who had been pinned down quickly held the palace maid's hands behind her back and pressed her to the ground. However, the palace maid had already lost her mind. Her eyes were filled with lust as she struggled so hard that the guard couldn't hold her down. The guard was accidentally thrown to the ground. The palace maid rode on top of him and began to tear off his clothes. The other guards quickly ran back to help and tied her up with ropes. However, the palace maid kept twisting on the ground in an extremely ugly posture. Consort Hui had already brought people out when she heard the commotion. When she saw that it was a palace maid acting up, her face turned ugly. She had spent so many points just to harm a palace maid. She narrowed her eyes and looked at her confidant with displeasure. Her confidant was so scared that she broke out in a cold sweat and didn't dare to raise her head. Chu Xiang stood far away and looked at the palace maid who was rubbing on the ground. She coldly said, "Call the imperial physician." This palace maid had just drunk the hot milk this princess consort gave her before the accident. Ziyu, bring her back to the tent and let the imperial physician examine her. Everyone couldn't help but look at Consort Hui. When Consort Hui and Chu Xiang had argued before, Consort Hui was so angry that she left. Then there was a problem with Chu Xiang's hot milk. It must be Consort Hui's doing, right? Consort Hui knew that the imperial physician wouldn't be able to find anything, so she wasn't afraid at all. She even mocked. This consort doesn't think she's drugged. It looks more like she's crazy. Qin Wangfei, it's not this consort's fault. It's your fault for causing such an ugly scene in the hunting grounds. Now that you're imperial uncle's legal wife, you still have to learn to take care of imperial uncle's harem, right? Chu Xiang turned around and slowly walked towards Consort Hui. Consort Hui looked at her and had the urge to retreat. Her heart was instantly filled with anger. Chu Xiang walked to a place 3 steps away from her and stood still. Looking at her, she said, "Since Imperial Concubine Hui has gone crazy, then I ask Imperial Concubine Hui to help me deal with her, so as to avoid ruining everyone's mood." Consort Hui looked at her suspiciously. She didn't understand why she didn't call the imperial physician. Did she know that it was useless? Dealing with a lunatic was a simple matter. The prudent imperial concubine waved her hand indifferently. "Drag him away and beat him to death." Then she said to Chu Xiang, "From now on, Qin Wangfei needs to take care of her personal palace maids. Otherwise, if something ugly happens, the one who will be implicated will be imperial uncle." Chu Xiang watched as the palace maid was dragged away and the corners of her mouth rose. "Many thanks, Imperial Concubine Hui." Purple Jade returned to the tent. "It's too boring outside. There were even crows flying by just now. It's too noisy." The prudence Imperial Concubine's eyes widened instantly. She couldn't believe that Chu Xiang dared to mock her as a crow in public. Where did Chu Xiang get her guts from? Before she could say anything, Chu Xiang had already left with her men. As a concubine, she couldn't possibly chase after Chu Xiang and settle the score with her. She still hadn't vented her anger from before and was about to go crazy from anger. She coldly looked over the surrounding womenfolk and calmly returned to the tent. Someone reported what had happened here to the Empress. The Empress frowned and said, "There's no need to pay attention to them. One can be framed by her personal palace maid, and the other is just an idiot who can't be seen in public. They're just a bit beautiful, so the more they suffer, the faster they'll die." Half an hour later, Li Bohan was the first to return on his horse. The guards chasing after him were carrying large game that stirred up a cloud of dust when they hit the ground. Chu Xiang had already been notified and was waiting outside with the other womenfolk. Li Bohan jumped off his horse and walked over to Chu Xiang's side. He picked her up like a boorish man and spun her around. He loudly said, "Princess consort, look at what this king has hunted for you. When we go back, I'll definitely make a few warm fur jackets for you." Chu Xiang leaned on his shoulder and said with a smile, "Your Highness, Did you forget that we'll be returning to the camp after the new year? It's spring and the flowers are blooming there. How could we need fur jackets? Ha ha ha, this king's camp is like spring all year round. The princess will definitely like it. Then I'll give these things to the emperor as a return gift. Li Bohan held Chu Xiong's hand and lifted his foot to leave. Your hands are too cold. Have you been waiting outside for a long time? Let's go back to the tent to warm up. When the emperor and the others came back, they saw this scene. They all thought that the king of Qin was drunk on his woman and couldn't come out. This Miss Chu knew how to grasp this opportunity when she was about to die. She had actually made the king of Qin dizzy. He was just a playboy king, no one cared about him. The more ridiculous he was, the better. The other womenfolk all felt sour in their hearts. Even though they had guessed that Chu Xiong wouldn't have a good time at the camp, they had seen it with their own eyes. They were truly jealous of how much Li Bohan loved Chu Xiong. When the men came back, they gathered together to drink after warming up. The empress sent someone to report the palace maid's embarrassing situation to the emperor. At first, the emperor didn't take it seriously, but then the head chamberlain found out that the spy he had arranged for Li Bohan was beaten to death. He instantly became suspicious. Who knew that after the head chamberlain secretly investigated, he found that this matter had a lot to do with the Prudence imperial concubine. It was very likely that the Prudence imperial concubine wanted to drug Chu Xiong, and the palace maid accidentally drank it. After that, the Prudence imperial concubine and Chu Xiong personally ordered the palace maid to be beaten to death. From beginning to end, there were no suspicious points. It was completely a coincidence. The emperor's heart was filled with anger. They couldn't brazenly put too many people by Li Bohan's side. The only one that could serve him was this palace maid. She was actually crippled by the Prudence imperial concubine. How stupid. The Prudence imperial concubine was just a palace maid. No matter how good she was at serving people, she was still a servant. Sometimes the things she did annoyed the emperor. If it wasn't for the fact that there was no other woman that could replace the Prudence imperial concubine, he would have already thrown this woman into the army camp. The head chamberlain came to the emperor's side to report that the Prudence imperial concubine wanted to serve him, but was rejected by the emperor. He then called the empress over to sit beside him. It was the same thing. Li Bohan was happy when he heard it. I wanted to take care of her when I left, but I didn't think that you would save this king the trouble. How did you find out that there was medicine in the milk? You're this smart. Chu Xiong slowly turned the teacup in her hand. She stared at the steam and smiled. Intuition. I have a very strong intuition for these things. Your Highness won't blame me for being a joke, right? What kind of joke is this? Isn't that being a joke? This court is already a joke from the inside out. It doesn't make a difference. Li Bohan carefully looked over Chu Xiong as he praised. You really shouldn't be hiding in your room pretending to be sick. You should be helping this king take care of the harem. How about this, if someone sends a woman to this king in the future, you can help this king block it. Chu Xiong didn't immediately agree. She slowly took a sip of tea before looking up at him. Your Highness, you don't seem like such an angry person. If you want me to do something, you should at least give me some compensation, right? Li Bohan raised his brows in surprise. Compensation? You want money. That's not right, you want something else. What do you want? You want me to dress up as a man to do business. Chu Xiong made her request very clear. She looked at him and seriously said, Your Highness will need a lot of money and I have a lot of talent for this. Is Your Highness willing to give me a chance to help Your Highness? I will let you know that my skills are not limited to the harem. Li Bohan's heart was shocked. How many strange requests could this girl make? Dress up as a man to do business. His first reaction was, who would believe that you dress up as a man with that face? Chu Xiong supported her chin with a smile. Your Highness doesn't need to worry about this. I have a way to disguise myself as a man. Your Highness, you won't lose anything from this, so why don't you let me try? If I succeed, you won't lose anything by saving my family. Let this king consider this matter. Li Bohan couldn't accept Chu Xiong's request, but after thinking about what Chu Xiong said, it was true. What harm was there in trying? Chu Xiong wasn't his real princess. They were just taking what they needed. Why would he need to restrict Chu Xiong from doing anything? This hunt allowed Li Bohan to see Chu Xiong's ability. She didn't panic in the face of danger. She could think of a solution in the blink of an eye and take care of an enemy, perfectly removing herself from the situation. When facing Imperial concubine Hui, who had harmed her family, she was able to keep her bottom line. Even when Imperial concubine Hui was angered to death, she still couldn't be punished. Especially the request to dress up as a man to do business. It made Chu Xiong look even more mysterious. How did Prime Minister Chu raise his daughter? What kind of daughter did he raise? Li Bohan was very curious, and his playful heart was aroused. When he returned to the Fu, he promised Chu Xiong and arranged for 2 people to help her, allowing her to learn about business matters. Li Bohan had brought an advisor to the capital this time. He usually disguised himself as a guard and followed him. Seeing him indulge Chu Xiong so much, he finally couldn't help but find a chance to persuade him. Wang Ye, now that the emperor doesn't have any doubts about you, Chu Shi is a dispensable person. You really don't need to waste any more effort on her. Li Bohan thought of Chu Xiong and smiled. This Chu Shi isn't a normal girl. She's very capable. Where did this come from? Wang Ye, Chu Shi is an abandoned concubine that was abandoned in the cold palace. She even implicated Prime Minister Chu's family and sent them to prison. It's fine if you use her to get Prime Minister Chu's allegiance, but if you like, you can just treat her as a girl in the inner compound. Letting her do business, isn't that too much? Could it be that Wang Ye really has feelings for Chu Shi? How could Ben Wang have feelings for her? I just feel that she's different. Alright, this matter won't affect anything. Just let her try. Ben Wang has a sense of propriety. Li Bohan found that he was protecting Chu Xiong. After being together for a few days, he actually didn't want to hear other people looking down on Chu Xiong. However, other people had never seen Chu Xiong's strong side. They had only seen Chu Xiong acting coquettishly in his arms, so it was no wonder they would think this way. He patted the advisor's shoulder and comforted him. Don't worry. Since Ben Wang has done this, I naturally have a certain amount of confidence. Chu Shi will make you see her in a new light. Li Bohan was already like this, so what else could the advisor do? Although he was worried about Li Bohan spoiling Chu Xiong, he could only listen to Li Bohan and help Chu Xiong cover up. In the end, the advisor found that he only needed to help Chu Xiong leave the palace. After Chu Xiong disguised herself as a man, there was no trace of her original appearance. It was unknown what was on her face, but her appearance looked very ordinary. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to remember it. After Chu Xiong left the palace, she walked around the entire capital without leaving a trace. She memorized what things were selling well, why they were selling well, and how to make the business prosper. She even memorized what the most popular jewelry and clothes in the capital looked like. She also went to the best restaurant in the capital to eat a meal. She remembered that when she was in the cold palace, she had decided to learn how to cook. Who knew that the food in the best restaurant in the capital wasn't delicious either? She suddenly regretted that she didn't secretly learn from the imperial chef when she was in the palace. The food in the human world wasn't as delicious as the food in the cultivation world. If she wanted to learn, she should have learned from the imperial chef. She had miscalculated. Chapter 82. Chu Xiong and Li Bohan, this fake couple, were becoming more and more in sync with each other. They could show off their love at any time and place. Chu Xiong, this Qin Wangfei, was also becoming more and more confident and arrogant with each passing day. Anyone who wanted to send women to Li Bohan would be kicked out by Chu Xiong, as if Li Bohan was her last life-saving straw. Even if she died, she would grab onto him and not let anyone touch him. However, Li Bohan would always stand on Chu Xiong's side with a doting expression. As long as Chu Xiong was happy, it was fine. He even told them to exchange women for jewelry. Chu Xiong would definitely like it. Since Li Bohan was like this, everyone had to send some expensive jewelry over. Chu Xiong's treasury immediately became rich. In just half a month, the entire Jing city knew that Qin Wangfei was a jealous woman through and through. Her personality was very fierce and she couldn't tolerate Qin Wang taking concubines. Chu Xiong became a jealous Wangfei as an abandoned concubine of the Cold Palace and enjoyed Qin Wang's special favor. People were puzzled and speculated whether she was secretly seductive. Their hearts were full of jealousy, but they didn't know whether it was disdain or envy. Qin Wangfei's reputation as a jealous woman spread like wildfire. She really did block all the women sent to Li Bohan. In exchange, she often disguised as a man to go out of the food to understand the business situation in Jing City. Occasionally, she would need help from Li Bohan's confidants and no one would fool her. Li Bohan's advisors saw that not only did she not cause trouble, but she also helped a lot. Their rejection of her lessened, but they still thought that their lord's main wife should be a daughter of a noble family. They didn't recognize Chu Xiong as the mistress of the house. Chu Xiong didn't care about Li Bohan's subordinates. They didn't have much interaction in the first place. She also planned to create a complete economic chain in this dynasty and then break away from Li Bohan's power. Business had a very low status in ancient times, but she had no choice. With her current skills, business was the most reliable. As long as she was strong enough to control the economic lifeline, she would have a way to raise a private army. With Prime Minister Chu's help, she would definitely have a place and no longer be controlled and looked down upon. Chu Xiong had a clear understanding of the status of women in this dynasty. She did not feel that she could easily become powerful here. Using and being used was the only way for her to become strong. One day, she would be able to do whatever she wanted in this dynasty. At present, as long as she coaxed Li Bohan, she would be able to obtain the greatest freedom, which was much better than other women. On New Year's Eve, the palace held a New Year's Eve banquet. Consort Hui, who had been treated coldly by the emperor for a few days, vented her anger on Chu Xiong. Originally, she wanted to teach her a lesson, but Li Bohan was already preparing to return to the station. He didn't want to cause more trouble, so he protected Chu Xiong the entire time. Chu Xiong didn't even say a few words, let alone go anywhere else. Consort Hui didn't even have a chance to harm her. Ziyu and Fu Tai also stood guard beside the two of them, determined not to let any careless palace servants dirty Chu Xiong's clothes. Consort Hui had the system, but she was helpless in this situation. She could only watch as Li Bohan doted on Chu Xiong, wishing he could hold her in the palm of his hand. Then, as soon as the New Year's Eve banquet ended, he took her away. The king of Qin asked to leave and return to the station. The emperor naturally didn't care. After probing for so long, the emperor had completely believed that the king of Qin was a brainless fool who wouldn't cause trouble. With such a worry-free imperial uncle, he was happy to act like he liked him. He had always been very good to people who followed him. Chu Xiong and Li Bohan sat in a comfortable and luxurious carriage, slowly leaving the capital. Chu Xiong held a cup of hot tea and read a book. Her expression was natural, as if it was just a simple spring outing. Li Bohan looked at her for a while and was a little curious. He picked up the book in front of her and looked at it. He wondered, folklore. What book is this? It's a mess. It's all about folklore and it's not even certain if it's real or fake. You like reading this? Chu Xiong leaned against the soft pillow. If you want to make a lot of money, you naturally have to understand the people first. I grew up in the Prime Minister's fu and entered the palace as a concubine. I didn't have the chance to understand these things. Now I'll take a look and then go deeper into the folklore. I'll be able to quickly understand what the people like. Li Bohan laughed. You really plan on dressing up as a man to do business? Doing business isn't as easy as you think. It's not something that can be made just by moving your mouth. It's very tiring and bitter. How can a delicate sister like you endure it? If you're worried that you won't have anyone to rely on in the future, I'll give you some shops and fields. You can let the people below take care of them. They'll be your dowry. Weren't the jewels that those people gave me my dowry? I want more than that. Don't forget the conditions you promised me. In any case, no one knows that Qin Wangfei is doing business, so you don't have to stop me. If something happens to me, you can announce that Qin Wangfei has died of illness. No one will suspect or care. Chu Xiang drank a mouthful of hot tea. Her words were neither fast nor slow, but the meaning in her words was very firm. Li Bohan slightly frowned. You really want to split up with me? I've been away from the station for so long. I must take the water route back as soon as possible. Also, I must take most of my people with me just in case. If you dress up as a man and take the land route back to the station, you'll be a few months later than me. It's also very dangerous. I don't even know if you're still alive. Also, your father will be exiled soon. I'll rescue him to the station as soon as possible. Don't you want to see him soon? Chu Xiang rubbed the rim of the cup and shook her head. It's not important whether I see him early or late. What's important is that my father is well. I've written a letter. When the time comes, you can give it to my father. After he reads it, he will naturally assist you. I hope you can treat my father well. Prime Minister Chu is very talented, so I will naturally treat him well. There's also one more thing that I can't explain to Mu Fei. Also, Qin Wangfei won't show up or go over. Before Li Bohan could finish, Chu Xiang interrupted him with a smile. Wang Ye, you can't be reluctant to part with me, right? Your words. Do you think it's interesting? If you can't even handle this small matter, how can you talk about great things? You agreed to let me do business because you want to see if I have the ability. Then just let me do it. If I don't succeed on the way to the station, then I'll obediently play the role of Qin Wangfei in the future. If I have a big harvest, then let me show off my skills. I'm also helping you. How about it? Li Bohan helplessly said. I can't beat you every time. Why do you have so many fallacies? Now, other than me, there's no one else who will indulge you like this. Alright, you're a good Wangfei. I can only be a strategist. You take care of yourself. I'll wait for your good news at the station. I hope you'll succeed. Chu Xiang revealed a bright and beautiful smile and raised her cup. Thank you, Lord, for your appreciation. I'll use tea instead of wine to toast you. Li Bohan clinked his cup with hers. Seeing her smile, he felt like he had been bewitched. This amazing woman who could act coquettishly, and do things, how could he treat her like a block of wood by his side every day? Thinking of being separated, his heart felt empty. This feeling of having someone perfectly cooperating with him was too good. With just one look from him, Chu Xiang knew how to respond. This was something even his mother couldn't do. Chu Xiang made him have no worries, but thinking about it, this was a woman he had just met. He didn't know her very well, so how could he have such strong feelings for her? He felt like he was used to having her by his side. He sighed in his heart and finally agreed to her request. This was really a kind of indulgence, but he wanted to indulge her once. He wanted to see if she could spread her wings and soar into the sky. He was looking forward to it. When they were far away from the capital, Chu Xiang separated from Li Bohan with a group of guards. She didn't take Ziyu with her. This kind of thing was not suitable for Ziyu. She let Ziyu go directly to the station. She and the guards disguised themselves as a caravan. When she was in the capital, she secretly got a batch of goods. At this time they only changed a few carriages, and they were no different from other caravans. Chu Xiang often chatted with the guards along the way, asking them where they were from, where they had been, and what they knew. She learned a lot about the local customs, as well as what they had and lacked. She took advantage of the differences in the regions she would pass through along the way, and began to sell a large number of goods. Every time she arrived at a place, she would stay for a few days and find a partner. At first, the guards were just loyal to their duty to protect her safety and were not very convinced by her. As a result, they slowly watched Chu Xiang sell the goods at a high price and negotiate with all kinds of people. Every time, she could obtain the greatest benefits and make friends with business people. their view of Chu Xiong completely changed. In particular, Chu Xiong, a delicate girl, was not afraid of hardship or tiredness. Sometimes, when they did not rush to the town and slept in the wilderness, she did not complain. She could also arrange everything in an orderly manner. She was not like a woman in the back house at all, but a big businessman outside. They were gradually convinced by Chu Xiong and began to take the initiative to do things for Chu Xiong. They really became a caravan. Chu Xiong amassed a large amount of wealth. From reselling goods to buying and selling prescriptions, recipes, and so on, there would always be people who would sell their precious things at a low price when they were down and out. These things could always find a wealthy buyer somewhere else. This was not only making money but also accumulating contacts. And after these things passed through Chu Xiong's hands once, they were all recorded in Chu Xiong's mind. They were all her wealth. Chu Xiong went to many towns and even villages. She signed agreements with dozens of shopkeepers and agreed on the time to escort the goods. Since ancient times there were different ways of doing business, but there were also similarities. Chu Xiong had studied for dozens of years in her first life and became one of the world's top businessmen. She was very good in this area. She used the method of investing with ideas again. She often hit a wall, but she still managed to get a lot of connections. The guards who were with her admired her more and more. They were already willing to follow her, and no one had any complaints. They all felt that they were Wang Fei's people. In any case, when Wang Yi gave them to Wang Fei, they were like this. They were definitely loyal to Wang Fei. After a full 5 months, Chu Xiong's group finally arrived at Qin Wang's residence. She disguised herself as Lin Mu and brought a large sum of money to seek refuge with Qin Wang. Qin Wang attached great importance to her and personally met her. The advisors were very confused. Even if Lin Mu brought a lot of wealth, it was not enough for Wang Yi to meet her. There were many rich merchants who were richer than Lin Mu. Why didn't Wang Yi attach any importance to her? The only advisor who knew the inside story kept his mouth shut. He did not dare to reveal anything, but his heart was very shocked. He thought that something had happened to Chu Xiong outside. Who would have thought that Chu Xiong would succeed? In just 5 months, she had earned so much money and connections. In the long run, Chu Xiong would become their money bag. If Chu Xiong really had a high talent in accumulating wealth, then wouldn't Wang Yi be like a tiger that had grown wings? This princess consort really can't be underestimated. Chapter 83. As soon as Chu Xiong changed into women's clothes, Li Bohan couldn't wait to take her to see old concubine Yu. If you don't come, I will be skinned by Mu Fei. You didn't see, her face is getting uglier and uglier by the day. A few days ago, she wanted to take advantage of my absence to break in. Chu Xiong looked back at the palace and smiled. You made a golden house to hide your mistress. You really haven't let anyone see me for so long. Actually, you can just let someone else pretend to be me. It's all fake anyway. I can always dress as a man and do things outside. Li Bohan stopped and held her face with both hands. Come, tell me, how many women are as beautiful as you? They haven't seen you before, but they have all heard that you have a femme fatale face. You can charm me to do whatever you say. If I casually find an average-looking one, wouldn't it mean that I have bad taste? Moreover, once Wang Fei appears, she will have to take care of things and help me take care of the harem. She will have to interact with many women. Who can I find to pretend to be her and guarantee that there won't be any mistakes? At that time, if a hole is poked, I might as well not let Wang Fei show up. Chu Xiong took his hand away and said, Anyway, you are so muddle-headed, you don't care about this matter. If word gets out, the emperor will be even more satisfied. He will think that you are drowning in the land of tenderness. Let's go and see your Mu Fei. I'll be fine first. I can do a lot of things for you. I can help you manage the harem and money. I'm like your housekeeper, right? You have to protect me. Don't let your Mu Fei bully me. With my temper, if I'm really bullied, I might do something. What? How can there be such a mess? Let's go. Li Bohan took her hand and continued to walk. During the days when they were showing off their love everywhere in the capital, He was already very familiar with these actions. There was naturally a kind of intimacy between the two of them, and there was a tacit understanding between them that outsiders could not interrupt. When old concubine Yu heard that Chu Xiong had recovered from her illness and could finally come to visit her, she had already dressed up and sat waiting seriously. As soon as Li Bohan led Chu Xiong through the door, she saw Chu Xiong's gorgeous face and immediately came to a conclusion. A vixen. Li Bohan smiled and said, "Mother Xiong'er has recovered and is in a hurry to visit you, so I brought her here." Chu Xiong smiled and curtsied. "Chenxia greets Imperial Mother. Long live Imperial Mother." Old concubine Yu lowered her eyelids and said coldly, "I feel uneasy. Madam Chu, you know very well what your status is. Qin Wangfei is not someone you can be." Chu Xiong turned to ask Li Bohan, "Your Highness, you want to divorce me?" Old concubine Yu was very unhappy to be interrupted. She frowned and looked at Li Bohan, who smiled and said, "It's nothing. Come, sit down and drink tea with Mufei. Mufei is laughing with you. His Majesty has personally said that you are Qin Wangfei." Imperial concubine Yu reprimanded. "Han, do you know what you're doing? She is the daughter of Prime Minister Chu, an abandoned concubine. Letting her be Qin Wangfei is a humiliation to you. If you can't bear to part with her, let her change her name and be a concubine. I have already chosen a candidate for your legal wife. You only need to choose one of the three of them. It will be of great benefit to you in the future." Li Bohan had a headache and said, "Mufei, you're messing around again. My Wangfei is fine, what are you doing? If you like any girl, call her over to chat with you to relieve your boredom. Don't let them come to me, it's annoying. You didn't get close to women before, which made me worry. Now that you've finally opened your mind, why are you still like this?" Old concubine Yu pointed at Chu Xiong and angrily said, "You jealous woman, did you slander Honor? Do you want Honor to pamper you?" Chu Xiong smiled and said, "Mufei, don't be angry. You know my status is low. How can I control Wangye? Even if a cow doesn't drink water, you can't force it to drink, right? In this concubine's opinion, when Wangye wants a concubine, he will naturally want one. Now that Wangye is annoyed, don't let those people bother Wangye. This concubine only has Wangye in her heart. I only hope that Wangye will be happy and happy." Old concubine Yu raised her eyebrows. Wasn't this implying that she didn't care about her son's feelings and deliberately made him annoyed? She was about to speak, but Li Bohan raised his hand and waved the servant back. He frowned and said, "Mufei, don't worry. The people in the back house are different from outsiders. They are my pillow. How can they be easily taken in? If they are spies sent by someone, they might end me at night. I can't sleep at ease." Old concubine Yu nervously looked at Chu Xiong. She didn't expect that in such a short time, Li Bohan didn't hide from Chu Xiong at all and directly revealed his true nature. Li Bohan said, "Xiong'er can take care of the back house very well. Believe in her. Mufei, you have worked hard these years and often feel unwell. Now you should have a good rest. Your son has his own ideas. You just need to enjoy your life and don't worry about other things." "What? You want Chu clan to be in charge of the Qin palace?" Old concubine Yu originally wanted to give Chu Xiong a show of strength, but she didn't expect that Li Bohan would take away her power as soon as he opened his mouth. Her face suddenly changed. Li Bohan said matter-of-factly, "Your son is married now. How can I let Mufei be tired again? Your son has seen Mufei working hard these years, and my heart really hurts. I don't dare to let Mufei be in charge anymore. Xiong-er, don't let Mufei worry in the future. You must help me take good care of Mufei." Chu Xiong smiled at old concubine Yu. "Mufei, don't worry. Chenxia won't let you down." Old concubine Yu pressed her forehead. "You too. Make me so angry that I have a headache." Li Bohan immediately got up and pulled Chu Xiong up. He raised his voice and called for a doctor, saying, "Mufei, you often have headaches because you worry too much. After the doctor sees you, have a good rest. I'll let Fu Tai arrange the rest. We won't disturb you." Li Bohan had always been tough. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let anyone see Wang Fei for a few months. Since he had already done this, old concubine Yu really had no choice. She had an ugly expression on her face and told them to leave quickly. After leaving old concubine Yu's palace, Chu Xiong looked at Li Bohan and whispered, Why are you in such a hurry to pull me to see people? Turns out that you want to take back your power. Why is there a problem with Mu Fei's management? Li Bohan shook his head and pulled her back to the golden house quickly. After dismissing everyone, he said, Mu Fei, I won't hide it from you. She often thinks she's smart and does things that give me a headache. But she's too conceited. She always thinks that she has good taste and that the people she recognizes are all her own people. I don't know either, so I don't let her manage it. Then you trust me quite a lot. Of course, you have proven that you are worthy of my trust. I treat you as a counselor. I hope you won't let me down. Chu Xiong nodded and poured herself a cup of tea. As soon as she came back, she noticed from the clues that Li Bohan was only filial to old concubine Yu. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to cover up for her for so long. That was why she contradicted old concubine Yu and tested the bottom line of the mother and son. She didn't expect that there were some contradictions between them. If Li Bohan wanted to achieve great things, his harem must be clean or strictly guarded. However, old concubine Yu was not easy to worry about. She always thought she was smart and made trouble for Li Bohan. One slip would cause everlasting sorrow. Li Bohan couldn't allow the slightest mistake. Naturally, he hoped that old concubine Yu would live a comfortable life. It was good that there was this contradiction. She could continue to be a jealous woman in the Qin palace and continue to be arrogant. As long as she took good care of old concubine Yu, Li Bohan would definitely give her the greatest freedom. Li Bohan looked outside and asked, Your father and the others have always thought that you are ill. Do you want to see them today? I'll go see them in person. Are they all well? Chu Xiong walked to the mirror and sat down. She changed the elegant hairpin in front of the mirror. Li Bohan walked behind her and took the hairpin. He helped her put it in her hair and said, Your parents and your two brothers are all well. Your eldest sister-in-law died of illness in prison. Your second sister-in-law had a miscarriage and is still recuperating. Your nephews and nieces are all well. Chu Xiong made a sound of agreement. Thank you, Wang Yi, for saving them. Did my father see the letter I wrote? What did he say? Father-in-law sighed when he was in great need. You have grown up after experiencing life and death. You are no longer the well-behaved daughter in his memory. Li Bohan held her shoulder and bent over to look at her in the mirror. He asked curiously, Are you really very different from before? How can there be a woman like you in this world? You can do things that you have never done before so well. Are you an immortal? Chu Xiong laughed. Are you addicted to acting? Acting in the room, do you want me to think that you are a god? The world is so big and there are so many strange people. You just met one of them, so what is there to be surprised about? If you want me to cook, I can't even compare to a peasant woman. Why do you seem to care so much about food? Do you want to learn how to cook? Li Bohan pulled over a chair to sit down. He leaned against the dressing table and watched her draw her eyebrows. Chu Xiong drew as she said, I was scared of being hungry in the cold palace. I feel like I should learn how to make food without food. Li Bohan thought of the first time they met. According to reason, he should have broken her neck the moment he saw her to avoid any more problems. But when he saw her strangely carrying a pigeon, he subconsciously realized that she was different from other people. He smiled. It's a good thing I went with you to the cold palace that day. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found a treasure like you. Chu Xiong tidied up her clothes and stood up to say, I will do my best to help you in the future. Don't let other people cause trouble for me. I just want to live freely, all right? B. Li Bohan responded with a smile and asked someone to take her to see her family. He knew that they must have a lot to talk about, so he didn't join in the fun. He also understood Chu Xiong's character a little. She hated being controlled by others and hated being restrained. He didn't know how Prime Minister Chu raised such a daughter. Chu Yi-ru and others lived in a mansion not far from the Qin Palace. Chu Yi-ru changed his name to Chu Yi. Now he was Li Bohan's hidden counselor. He was afraid of being discovered, so he rarely went out. Few people knew that he was here. Chu Xiang dressed lightly and went in through the back door of the Chu family. As soon as she entered, she saw the family waiting there. Their faces were full of excitement. Xiang! It's really Xiang! Mrs. Lin walked a few steps forward and firmly held Chu Xiang's hand. Her tears fell down. Xiang, mother finally sees you. Chu Xiang hugged her and smiled. Mother, aren't we reunited as a family? This is a joyous occasion. Don't cry. Chu Yi cleared his throat and said, Xiang is right. This is a joyous occasion. Let's go to the hall. Our family is finally reunited. Let's talk. Chapter 84. In ancient times, women weren't that close to their relatives, especially aristocratic families. They had a lot of servants. The original owner had been in the palace for so long and experienced such a great change. Now that she was praised by the Duke of Qin, it was very easy to understand her change in personality. The Chu family didn't realize that Chu Xiang's body had changed. Instead, they were happy that their family could be reunited safely. The eldest brother changed his name to Chu Wenyuan. After this incident, he became a lot more serious. His entire person was calm and had a kind of silent ruthlessness. He solemnly said to Chu Xiang, It was all thanks to younger sister that we were saved this time. I already know what happened in the capital. You have been wronged. Chu Xiang stared at him for a while. Eldest brother, you don't blame me? If it wasn't for me not being strict enough and suffering losses and being banished to the cold palace by the emperor, you wouldn't have been imprisoned and eldest sister-in-law wouldn't have died. Chu Wenyuan raised his hand to indicate for her to stop. He seriously said, This matter was the fault of an incapable ruler. Our Chu family is loyal to the ruler and loves the country, but we never flatter anyone. When we encounter something we don't agree with, we always remain silent. This made the emperor very unhappy. We already expected that he would make a move on the Chu family. Your eldest sister-in-law accidentally got sick and passed away. No one is to blame. Younger sister, you don't need to worry about this matter. The second brother, Chu Wensong, slowly fanned himself and said, Younger sister, father had already arranged a way out for our family in the early years. When we arrived at the place of exile, there would be people to replace us. From then on, the Chu family would change their names and live as ordinary people. It was very difficult for you to escape from the palace. Moreover, the incident happened so suddenly that father only had time to arrange for people to set the palace on fire to save you. After we were rescued by the Duke of Qin, we found out that the people father arranged had accidentally angered imperial concubine Hui and were beaten to death. We didn't have the chance to save you and caused you to suffer a lot. Now that our family is reunited and the Duke of Qin is a lord worthy of our support, we will definitely fight for a place by the Duke of Qin's side. Younger sister, you can sit firmly on the position of Qin Wangfei. In the future, when you ascend to the position of empress, we will wipe away our previous shame. In ancient times, families were bound together for good or ill. From their attitude, Chu Xiang could see that the Chu family was very harmonious. They were able to let go and stand up. Moreover, they were very supportive of her. Chu Xiang thought for a moment and then said, The Duke of Qin and I are fake husband. These words were like a clap of thunder, shocking the Chu family's father and brothers into a daze. Chu Yi-ru frowned and asked, What do you mean? Chu Xiang stood up and walked a few steps in front of them like a man. She looked back at them and said, I am Lin Mu. I work for the King of Qin in secret. At that time, the Duke of Qin and I met by a freak combination of factors. I used my father and brother as bait, using him to save us from the capital. Later he found out that I had unexpectedly become Qin Wangfei, so he beat me at my own game. I helped him spread the name of being henpecked and hedonistic, and I took care of the inner residents. He protected me from being bullied, and I disguised myself as a man to do business and amass wealth. I haven't been kept in a golden house for the past few months. I've just arrived from the capital by land. You're too bold. Chu Yiru looked at her in shock. What do you plan to do in the future? Continue to be Lin Mu. Your two elder brothers and I will do our best to assist Qin Wang. You should sit firmly on the position of Qin Wangfei. In the future. Chu Xiang didn't avoid his gaze. Father, you want me to be like the current empress, relying on my father and brother's position in the court to sit firmly on the empress throne? Then what's the difference between me and a plant for the rest of my life? The Duke of Qin dotes on you. But that's not a matter of doting. Zheng'er, you are a woman. Dressing as a man to do business is not a long-term solution. If people find out, how will the world see you? If something goes wrong, will the Duke of Qin tolerate you? Father knows that after this matter, your heart will not be at ease. But you have already suffered greatly. In the future, your father and brother will protect you. When you ascend to the empress position and give birth to a legitimate son, father will help him ascend the throne. At that time, no one will be able to disrespect you. Chu Xiang smiled and sat down. She shook her head. Father, I know my actions are out of line. No woman would do what I did. But she raised her head and looked into Chu Yiru's eyes. Before, I was a favored concubine in the palace. Father, you were the prime minister. So what? With a single word from an incapable ruler, what would happen to us? I will never let others control my fate again. Not only do I want to do business, I want to become the #1 merchant. I want to be so strong that even the emperor won't dare to touch me. Moreover, I and the Duke of Qin are fake husband and wife. When he ascends the throne, I will retire. At that time I will be able to go wherever I want and do whatever I want. This is the life I want. Chu Yiru was born and raised in ancient times. He couldn't understand Chu Xiang's pursuit. For him, wasn't the greatest fortune for a woman to ascend to the empress position and become the empress dowager? She wanted to become the #1 merchant. Even the current #1 merchant was nothing in the eyes of the imperial court. Chu Xiang wanted to do something that no one had ever done before. It was simply a fantasy. However, he didn't refute it. Instead, he seriously thought about it. If his daughter couldn't achieve anything and didn't want to enter the palace, how could she withdraw? He couldn't stop his daughter's actions. The only thing he could do was protect her. Chu Wensong thought more clearly. He waved his fan and said with a smile, "If it weren't for younger sister, our Chu family would have already retired to the mountains. Father, eldest brother, we don't want glory and wealth. We only want the family to be safe. Since younger sister doesn't want to enter the palace, why don't we help her? It's very troublesome for her to do business alone. Let me help her." Chu Xiang cupped her hands like a man and said with a smile, "Thank you, second brother, but I don't need you to help me. The property that Lin Mu brought is enough to prove my strength. The people that the prince gave me are also useful. They have all been subdued by me. You don't need to worry. As for your side, I have some ideas." Chu Wenyuan said, The Duke of Qin has been pretending to be crazy for so many years. It's not easy for him to openly recruit capable people. Father, with your ability, you are enough to be his #1 strategist. Moreover, you have many years of connections in the capital. Eldest brother is good at the art of war, and second brother is good at politics. It just so happens that one of you is good at martial arts and the other is good at civil affairs. As for me, I will become the Duke of Qin's money bag. In the future, our Chu family will be a great contributor to the Duke of Qin's throne. At that time, father will live a comfortable life. I will fake my death and live a carefree life. Eldest brother and second brother can become the Duke of Qin's important officials without being suspected. This is the best development for the Chu family. Chu Yiru and his two sons exchanged a look. Chu Yiru narrowed his eyes and said, "What do you think? The Chu family has always been in the core position of power. Naturally, they have ambitions." Chu Xiong drew a very beautiful blueprint for them. The two brothers agreed without hesitation. Who doesn't want to achieve great things in troubled times? Moreover, even their younger sister has high ambitions. How can they, as brothers, relax? The four of them talked in the study until dusk. Chu Xiong has been running around for the past few months. She has completely understood the situation of this dynasty. She has even seen 2 rebel armies. When she is angry, she is not inferior to the 3 men. However, the 4 of them have their own strengths. Chu Xiong is smooth and slick, and she is best at opportunism. Chu Yiru is astute, Chu Wensong is quick-witted, and Chu Wenyuan has a deep understanding of the art of war. Chu Xiong only spent an afternoon with them. She decided to steal more from them in the future. This way, the next time she transmigrates to ancient times, she will have other skills that she can use. She won't be limited to business. It is too difficult to make a name for yourself in ancient times. It is better not to use it unless it is absolutely necessary. Chu Xiong and the Chu family have reached a consensus. She is in a very good mood. It is best to have a family that won't drag you down. Otherwise, you will have to find a way to get rid of them if you meet someone of the highest quality. Qin Wangfei finally showed up. Every day, people would ask to see her for various reasons. Li Bohan also gave Chu Xiong the power that imperial concubine Yu had. Chu Xiong had to familiarize herself with the Qin palace, subdue the servants, and take over all the affairs. She suddenly became busy. Taking care of the Qin palace was not an easy task, but in the end, it was still a matter of the inner residence. Chu Xiong didn't want to waste too much time on it, so she began to cultivate Ziyu. Ziyu was absolutely loyal to her. Except for not being so clever, it could do everything well. Soon, it became the most useful person by Chu Xiong's side. Imperial concubine Yu originally wanted to make trouble for Chu Xiong in the palace affairs. Who knew that every time, Chu Xiong would quietly resolve it and take the opportunity to get rid of a few of her people. Seeing that Chu Xiong had smoothly taken over the Qin palace, Imperial concubine Yu began to make things difficult for Chu Xiong. The first time, Chu Xiong didn't argue with her. The second time, Chu Xiong asked someone to find Li Bohan to support her. By the third time, Chu Xiong directly found an excuse not to come. Chu Xiong was now Li Bohan's favorite person. Even Imperial concubine Yu had to avoid her sharp edge. She couldn't do anything to her and even angered herself half to death. This time, Imperial concubine Yu carefully selected 2 beautiful palace maids and said to Chu Xiong, "You are busy with the palace affairs on weekdays. I'm afraid you will neglect Han. These 2 are careful and proper. Take them back and let them serve Han well." Imperial concubine Yu deliberately chose to do this when she was admiring the flowers with several officials' womenfolk, so that Chu Xiong couldn't refuse and stop Li Bohan from taking a concubine. She calmly waited for Chu Xiong to accept it and waited to see Chu Xiong's aggrieved expression. However, Chu Xiong didn't even look at the 2 palace maids and refused. "I'm afraid this concubine can't do as Mu Fei wishes. Wang Ye has already promised this concubine that he doesn't need palace maids to serve him. All the palace maids around him are replaced by internal servants." Imperial concubine Yu showed displeasure. "What do you mean? Do you really want to be a jealous woman?" "Why not?" Chu Xiong smiled and said, "Mu Fei, this concubine won't force it. It's just that this concubine can't ruin Wang Ye's sincerity. If Mu Fei insists on sending the palace maids over, this concubine is afraid that Wang Ye will be angry and ruin their lives. I hope Mu Fei will think twice." Imperial concubine Yu was so angry that she slammed the table. "Madam Chu, how dare you?" Chu Xiong said in surprise. "Mu Fei, where do these words come from? This concubine is just telling the truth. Otherwise, Mu Fei will personally send them to Wang Ye. If Wang Ye accepts, this concubine will have no objections." Imperial concubine Yu's face turned green and white. She felt particularly embarrassed in front of everyone. You are used to using flowery words to confuse Han. Don't forget your identity. What qualifications do you have to stop Han from taking a concubine? This concubine has never seen such a shameless person like you who can't tell good from bad. Chu Xiong broke a flower bud and crushed it with her fingertips. She got up and looked at Imperial Concubine Yu. Since Mu Fei doesn't like it, this concubine won't be an eyesore here. Mu Fei's health isn't good, so don't disturb Mu Fei. Let Mu Fei go back and rest early. The womenfolk of several officials hurriedly stood up. They couldn't afford to offend anyone, so they didn't dare to leave or stay. It was very difficult. When Imperial Concubine Yu saw this, she pointed at Chu Xiong and scolded angrily. Demon concubine! You are a demon concubine! Chu Xiong directly took her people and left. She slightly curved her lips and was very satisfied with the new title she got. She must have exceeded Li Bohan's expectations by a lot, right? Chapter 85. Li Bohan wanted his bad reputation to be as big as possible, but he couldn't be stupid. Being lecherous would also ruin people's good impression of him. The only thing that could easily make people think that he was addicted to the inner residence and did nothing. It was also a shortcoming that could be changed at any time. Chu Xiong talked back to old concubine Yu in public, but Li Bohan was still reluctant to punish her. Thus, the reputation of being controlled by the inner residence was confirmed. Chu Xiong's title of Yao Fei also spread like wildfire, becoming a veritable source of disaster in many people's hearts. Her background was very legendary. She was a favored concubine who was banished to the cold palace. After the Qin Wang entered the capital, she became the Qin Wang Fei and was the only one who was favored by the Qin Wang. The truth wasn't important. What was important was that Chu Xiong became more and more free with the title of Yao Fei. She could almost do whatever she wanted in the station. No one dared to touch her, and no one associated her with the brilliant Lin Mu. She lived a life that women in ancient times envied the most. She wasn't afraid of mothers-in-law, didn't have concubines, and was so wanton that it made people jealous. She lived a very happy life. This happy life came much earlier than Chu Xiong expected, but she didn't indulge in it. She always knew that Li Bohan was protecting her. This freedom was given to her by Li Bohan and could be taken away at any time. Li Bohan would sit on the dragon throne one day. No man should believe in the emperor, because even the emperor was subject to countless restrictions and couldn't do whatever he wanted. How could such a person protect others for a lifetime? Even if Chu Xiong became the emperor, she couldn't guarantee that she would protect someone for a lifetime. If it was someone else, she wouldn't believe it. Thus she never slacked off. Whenever she had time, she would arrange things in the palace and disguise herself as a man to run her business empire. The Chu family also worked very hard. Chu Yiru had gained Li Bohan's trust and became his #1 strategist. He contacted all his contacts and gave advice to Li Bohan. He was valued highly. Chu Wenyuan entered Li Bohan's secret private army and was only a soldier for the time being. Chu Wensong helped Li Bohan manage a brothel and collect information. The Chu family had begun to infiltrate Li Bohan's power, and they were gradually infiltrating deeper. There were more and more conflicts between the rebel army and the imperial court, and the fires of war were becoming more and more frequent. Chu Xiong's caravan used first-class bodyguards. They were skilled and smart, and they never lost their goods. Gradually, they made a name for themselves, and many people were willing to cooperate with her. During the chaos of war, it was easy to make money if one used the right methods. Chu Xiong had done a lot of shady things. She had more and more assets, and the people around Li Bohan started to pay more attention to Lin Mu. Every time Li Bohan heard his advisor praise Lin Mu and exclaim that he was a business genius, he couldn't help but laugh. If these people knew that Lin Mu was the evil concubine they were talking about, what kind of expression would they have? When they told them in the future, the scene would be very interesting. Li Bohan used the excuse of doting on his concubine to send out a large number of people to search for rare treasures. Searching for treasures was a lie. Gathering information and contacting people from all over the world was his real goal. But because everyone believed that he was bewitched by the evil concubine, his business was not hindered at all. It even developed more smoothly than before, and he quickly expanded his power in the dark step by step. Li Bohen and Chu Xiong were affectionate in front of others every day, and rushed forward without stopping. They slept in the same room at night, and their relationship grew stronger day by day, and they became comrades. Li Bohen had been fighting alone for so long. Now that he had Chu Xiong to work with, he cherished her very much. Unknowingly, his feelings for Chu Xiong changed. He liked to see her more and more, and appreciated her more and more. He even gave her the bed and slept on the soft couch. Chu Xiong was the most comfortable with Li Bohen's change. Her goal had not been achieved yet, but she had already enjoyed the life she wanted. Because of this, Chu Xiong gave Li Bohen a little more from her private golden pocket. She wanted to develop her power, so she naturally couldn't give all the money to Li Bohen. Her own golden pocket was getting richer and richer day by day. She also met a rebel leader and secretly cooperated with him. They carried out coastal trade, and even went out to sea to find gold. The days passed quickly. Chu Xiong felt that 24 hours were not enough every day. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. In these 5 years she subdued a nest of bandits, subdued a group of pirates, trained a private army, established a secret stronghold, arranged an escape route overseas, and hid the Chu family's treasure. In addition to officially becoming the Qin Emperor's money bag under the name of Lin Mu, she also made her own golden pocket overflow and became the underground queen of the business world. The Chu family not only didn't drag her down, but also helped her a lot. If Chu Wensong hadn't been in charge of Li Bohen's information channel, she wouldn't have been able to hide her golden pocket so easily. If Chu Yiru hadn't helped her plan and reminded her of a few traps, she might have fallen into another trap. She was the king of business, but in terms of intrigue, Chu Yiru, the old fox, was better. Chu Xiong learned a lot from him and felt more and more that this family was a godly team. Chu Wenyuan, who was in the army, was promoted quickly and became the right hand of the leader of the private army. He also gave Chu Xiong a lot of advice. Chu Xiong's private army was trained by him and their quality was very high. Chu Xiong saw their strength, so when they were secretly plotting, she suggested, "How about we make it the Chu families and father you sit in that position?" She felt that it was better for her family to be the emperor. When the time came, she would be the eldest princess. But this idea was rejected by the 3 men of the Chu family. Chu Yiru laughed and said, "You really are getting bolder and bolder. You dare to think of anything. But not everyone can be the emperor. The emperor is not a strategist or a general. He must know how to rule the country. Otherwise, if he takes the throne, the people will suffer. Father can be the prime minister and the best strategist, but I can't be the emperor." Chu Xiong was a little puzzled. "Don't you help His Highness make many decisions? What's wrong with that?" Chu Yiru shook his head. "If it was so easy, then there wouldn't be such a talented strategist since ancient times. They all went to be emperors. Even Mr. Zhuge can't call himself king, so how can father? Xiang Qin Wang is a wise ruler and is worthy of our full support. If he becomes the emperor in the future, it will be a blessing for the people." Chu Xiong looked at Chu Wenyuan and Chu Wensong. The two nodded and Chu Wensong smiled. "Sister, don't think too much. Think about it, you are now unparalleled in business. Can you be considered a capable person? But you don't know how to be a ruler. If you become the emperor, how will you govern the country?" Chu Wenyuan also said, "Qin Wang is a wise ruler. 5 years of the Chu family willingly assisting Qin Wang." Chu Xiong naturally didn't care. She really didn't know how to be a ruler, nor did she have any interest in it. In her eyes, the emperor was the most unfree person trapped in a cage. One person shouldered the fate of all the people. Early in the morning, he was greedy and restrained everywhere. Only a person who was born to be an emperor could restrain himself and endure the loneliness at the top. Otherwise, he would become a fatuous ruler. Li Bohen had no idea that Chu Xiong once had the idea of stealing the throne. His power had expanded rapidly in the past 5 years. Chu Xiang's caravan also secretly helped him do a lot of things and sent a lot of letters. Chu Xiang's title as a demon concubine had blocked countless troubles for him. Even old concubine Yu gradually lost her arrogance and couldn't intervene in his affairs anymore. Although it seemed a little unfilial without old concubine Yu's interference, his backyard was really quiet. He no longer had to worry about spies and assassins when he rested. Chu Xiang let him have no worries, and he was willing to dote on Chu Xiang. Unfortunately, no matter what he said or implied, Chu Xiang insisted on being a fake husband and wife with him. It made him wonder if in Chu Xiang's eyes, he wasn't a man at all. In these 5 years, the rebel army gradually grew in size. The court was almost unable to hold on, but the fatuous ruler didn't change and often did disgusting things. Chu Yiru arranged for people in the capital to incite the fatuous ruler in court. The fatuous ruler casually ordered the execution of the criminals exiled to the borders. Everyone knew that Qin Wangfei was the daughter of the previous prime minister. The previous prime minister's entire family had been exiled to the borders. Now that the emperor wanted to kill the criminals at the borders, wouldn't he have to kill Qin Wangfei's parents and family? When people heard that Qin Wangfei had caused a ruckus in the Qin palace, the Qin Wang had immediately sent a memorial to ask the emperor to let the Chu family go. When had the emperor ever cared about this? But he didn't like the Qin Wang's attitude. He wouldn't change his orders because of the Qin Wang. Li Bohan flew into a rage for a woman and led his army to occupy the borders. He accused the emperor of going too far. This time, he wanted to get justice for the humiliation that Qin Wangfei had suffered in the past. Since ancient times, all revolts needed a reason. On the surface, the emperor liked his imperial uncle, the Qin Wang, and the Qin Wang had always been generous. Of course, he couldn't be so calculative. He thought that the anger of his beloved was the best excuse. He wanted compensation from the emperor. Once the emperor gave him compensation, wouldn't he be apologizing to him and the abandoned concubine that he had personally abolished? The fatuous ruler would never do such a thing. He was also angered by Li Bohan's actions and felt that he had been played, so he sent troops to suppress him. When the court sent troops, Li Bohan naturally had to fight back. The two sides fought like this, allowing the Qin Wang to naturally become the newest power. The other rebel leaders understood and secretly cursed Li Bohan for being cunning. For so many years, he had let them charge at the front while he secretly developed such a large power. Once he came out, he couldn't be underestimated. Moreover, he was a member of the imperial family. He was more orthodox than they were, so it was easier for him to attract people with special abilities. He was a great threat. But no matter who was afraid of Li Bohan, he had already become so powerful that no one could do anything to him. Li Bohan sent troops to take down 7 cities in one fell swoop. The Qin Wang's flag was raised high. People often saw a merchant called Lin Mu following the Qin Wang. They believed that he was the Qin Wang's money bag. Some people were jealous that the Qin Wang had such a genius to help him. At the same time, they also felt that the Qin Wang was indeed respectful to the wise and treated Lin Mu very well. He was like a brother. Chu Xiang followed Li Bohan into the tent. She took off her hair cover and let her hair fall. She washed her face and said, "I can finally rest. I won't come with you in the future. Do you know how much food costs? I'm busy earning money." Li Bohan said helplessly, "I thought you liked to come to the battlefield. Don't you always like to do unusual things? Other women don't have the chance to come." Chu Xiang lay on the bed and closed her eyes. With so many eyes watching, don't blame me if I expose myself. Chapter 86. At night, a horn suddenly sounded outside. Chu Xiang and Li Bohan immediately sat up to grab their armor. As soon as Chu Xiang finished putting on her armor, the curtain was lifted. Wang Ye, the enemy troops, When the general saw Chu Xiong with black hair and white skin, he instantly shut his mouth and his eyes widened in disbelief. Not only him, the two deputy generals behind him and the soldiers near the tent all saw her. "Let's go." Li Bohan solemnly handed the helmet to Chu Xiong and walked out first. He put down the curtain and blocked everyone's sight. Chu Xiong quickly tied her hair and put on the helmet before following him out. Since she had already been seen, if she disguised herself as Lin Mu, she would be exposed. She might as well make the best of it. In any case, Li Bohan doted on her, this demon concubine, so what wouldn't she do? Li Bohan had already mounted his horse. When he saw her, he said, "I'll have someone send you to the rear. You go with them first." Chu Xiong knew that she wouldn't be able to help if she stayed, so she nodded and turned to leave. The 4 people Li Bohan arranged to protect her quickly followed. The general beside Li Bohan was a little dissatisfied. "Wang Ye, it's not appropriate for Wang Fei to come to the battlefield." Li Bohan raised his hand and coldly said, "Ben Wang knows what he's doing. Let's go." Li Bohan rode his horse to the front. Everyone quickly followed to protect him, but they couldn't help but feel that Chu Xiong was a big hidden danger. Their lord was good in every way, but she fell for this disaster. Sooner or later something would happen. Chu Xiong smoothly moved to a safe area and sat in the tent to wait for news. In fact, she had been nourishing her body with spiritual energy these past few years, so her physical fitness was stronger than these soldiers. Although she didn't know how to train soldiers, when she was a devil cultivator, she had countless fighting moves. She could easily handle this battlefield. But she was now Qin Wangfei Chu Xiong and a big merchant Lin Mu. She wasn't a female general, so she shouldn't go to the battlefield unless it was necessary. After waiting for a while, Chu Xiong couldn't stay still and began to call people to ask about the situation on the battlefield. She had learned the art of war from Chu Wenyuan, so she could familiarize herself with it here. Because she was Qin Wangfei, the people outside had no choice but to report the situation on the battlefield to her. Chu Xiong listened attentively, but the person reporting to her didn't think much of it. He was even very angry, thinking that she had come to the battlefield to ruin Li Bohan's great cause. They even believed that Li Bohan had attacked the imperial court to avenge Chu Xiong. Chu Xiong could naturally feel everyone's dissatisfaction with her, but she didn't care. After all, she was the one who created this image. Now, it was clear that she had acted well and deceived everyone. This way, it would be easy for her to find a reason to leave in the future. With the disappearance of the demon concubine, shouldn't the great Qing be dismissed? Being hated by everyone was exactly what she wanted. This battle lasted until dawn, and ended with Li Bohan's victory. He also captured many prisoners of war. As soon as Li Bohan returned, he took large strides to find Chu Xiong. Seeing Chu Xiong safe and sound, he clearly let out a breath. Chu Xiong noticed, and her eyes flashed. She asked, "Are you hurt?" "No, it's just that my arm is a bit sore. I was hit by a metal hammer just now." Li Bohan covered his right arm. When he spoke to Chu Xiong, his voice softened. The general who had followed couldn't stand by and watch. He had also been warned by Li Bohan not to be rude to Chu Xiong, so he left with a cold face. Chu Xiong saw the situation and smiled. "This time, you won't be able to wash away your reputation of being immersed in the land of tenderness. Come and sit. I'll apply medicine for you." Li Bohan looked at her with tender eyes and quietly said, "If it can't be washed away, then it can't be washed away. Right now, you are the Qin Wang who is infatuated with his Wang Fei. In the future, you can also be the emperor who is infatuated with his empress." Chu Xiong took off his armor and carefully applied medicine for him. Hearing his probing words, she looked at him and asked, "The Qin Wang only has Qin Wang Fei, but the emperor won't only have the empress. Do you know why I would rather enter the cold palace than continue to be Xian Fei?" Li Bohan faintly had a premonition of what she wanted, but still asked, "Why?" Chu Xiong smiled. "Because I can't stand other people touching my man. The emperor has 3 palaces and 6 courtyards. It doesn't matter as long as it has nothing to do with me. I don't like life in the imperial palace, and I won't accept sharing a husband with other people. So in the future you will have to choose someone else to be the empress. Li Bohan grabbed her hand and pulled her into his embrace with a little force. He held her tightly. You want to leave me? To where? Chu Xiong didn't struggle. She looked at him and said, It's raining so hard, where can't we go? You want to return to one, you have grand plans. I want to be unrestrained and free. You should understand me after these years. I won't be willing to stay in the Hoyuan and be an honest woman. If you really trap me, I won't be me. Li Bohan couldn't accept it. I thought that after 5 years of being together, we were already a true husband and wife. In the future we would look down together. Chu Xiong shook her head. What kind of person will an emperor like? If you like a woman, it must be because she is unique. If you lock her up in the Hoyuan, she will be no different from other women. You won't like her anymore. This is unsolvable. You might as well put all your energy into government affairs and become a famous emperor through the ages. Then no matter where I am, I won't regret bringing my family to assist you. Li Bohan looked at her for a while, then slowly lowered his head and approached her. When their lips touched, he saw that Chu Xiong's eyes were still clear. There was no shyness, no love, no disgust. There was nothing. He suddenly felt a wave of defeat and let go of her. I won't let you go. I will take care of everything you are worried about. Li Bohan put on his armor with a dark face. He took Chu Xiong's hand and walked out. Leave this place to Chu Wenyuan. Let's go back to the palace. Li Bohan had gone to the battlefield several times to establish his power, to show the world that he wasn't a wastrel and to wash away some of his past bad reputation. Now that he had shown it, he didn't need to come to the battlefield himself. He only needed to command from the Qin Palace. Before they reached the Qin Palace, the news that Qin Wangfei had gone to the battlefield spread. Imperial concubine Yu was so angry she almost fainted. She went out with Li Bohan. How did Chu Xiong get sick? So this Yao concubine followed to the battlefield. This was absolutely intolerable. Imperial concubine Yu put on a big show. As soon as Chu Xiong came back, she was going to punish her. Li Bohan was annoyed. Seeing this, he said in displeasure, Mu Fei, what do you want to do now? I wanted to take Wang Fei there. It has nothing to do with her. Imperial concubine Yu said angrily. How can it have nothing to do with her? Her flowery words must have confused you. Hunter, why are you still speaking for her? Do you know what people outside think of you? You're henpecked and useless. Sooner or later, you'll be killed by a woman. How long will you be fascinated by her? When will you wake up? I'm very sober. Mu Fei, go back and rest. Don't worry about these things. Li Bohan looked at the palace servants in annoyance. All of you leave. If anyone makes Wang Fei unhappy, this prince will beat them to death. The palace servants were all called by Imperial concubine Yu, but they didn't dare to disobey Li Bohan. They looked at Imperial concubine Yu, bowed hesitantly, and left. Imperial concubine Yu immediately threw the cup and scolded. Such a seductive thing, are you going to protect her to the end? Okay, let me ask you. She has been married to you for 5 years and has no children. You're not allowed to take concubines. How will this be resolved? Li Bohan and Chu Xiong had never slept together. How could they have children? But only the two of them knew this. They couldn't explain it to outsiders. What's more, Chu Xiong didn't want to have children with him at all. She didn't even want to be his Wang Fei. He looked at Chu Xiong and saw Chu Xiong drinking tea with her eyes down expressionlessly. But with his understanding of Chu Xiong over the years, Chu Xiong was already very impatient. If he continued to talk nonsense, she would definitely lose her temper. Li Bohan laughed at himself. When did he know Chu Xiong so well? But she didn't take him seriously at all. He secretly took a breath and said to Imperial concubine Yu, Mu Fei, I'll have children sooner or later. You don't have to worry. Now I'm busy with the war and don't want to be troubled by these things. I hope Mufei can understand. He pulled Chu Xiang up. The two of us are tired from the journey. We'll go back and rest first. Honor. Imperial concubine, you couldn't stop them and could only watch them leave. A great sense of crisis rose in her heart. If Li Bohan really ascended the throne in the future, would she, the Empress Dowager, exist in name only like now? Chu Xiang was really completely fascinated by Li Bohan. What should she do? Li Bohan pulled Chu Xiang back to the room. His face still very ugly. Chu Xiang felt tired and asked Ziyu to prepare water to take a bath. When Ziyu wiped her back, it said, "Master, do you want to ask a doctor to come and see you?" Although Imperial concubine Yu has always been unreasonable, this time, I'm afraid everyone thinks she's right. You haven't recovered in 5 years. Could it be that you hurt your body when you were in the cold palace? Chu Xiang laughed and said, what does what others think have to do with me? No, Master, Wang Ye is likely to ascend the throne in the future. Then you will be the empress. If you don't have children, won't you give other women a chance? With Wang Ye's love for you, if you give birth to a legitimate son, Master will definitely be named the crown prince in the future. Chu Xiang picked up a few petals in the water and played with them, smiling. Ziyu, don't you know that your master is a demon concubine? Since ancient times, which demon concubine has relied on children to compete for favor? Don't worry about it, I know what to do. It was impossible to have children. She was free and unfettered in the world. She could occasionally fall in love, but she couldn't be infatuated and forget who she was. She would go on life after life. Men would never be the first in her mind. Naturally, she could forget about them, but she couldn't have children. She didn't need to think about it to know that she couldn't abandon her flesh and blood and leave alone. Then the best way was not to have children. Only in this way could she live a carefree life without any worries. This was also the reason why she couldn't stay and be the empress. The emperor always had to carry on the family line. She and Li Bohan were not suitable in all aspects. Even Li Bohan's appreciation and love for her was insignificant compared to the country. Now that he valued her so much, it was only because she didn't have a conflict with what he wanted. Seeing Chu Xiang's attitude, Ziyu knew that Chu Xiang really didn't care about Li Bohan. She also knew that her master had always had a plan, so she didn't. She just wanted to help her master manage the Qin palace with all her heart, and not let old imperial concubine Yu take advantage of any loopholes. After this meeting, Li Bohan treated Chu Xiang as if he had a quarrel and was always sulking. When he was alone, he was also thinking about how to solve the problem between him and Chu Xiang. If he became the emperor, would it be possible for him to spend the rest of his life with Chu Xiang without a harem? Chu Xiang didn't want to be trapped in the palace. If Chu Xiang still wanted to disguise herself as a man and go out of the palace to do business, was it possible? Could the civil and military officials accept a demon concubine as the empress? Chapter 87. Chu Xiang stayed in the Qin palace for a while and then went out again disguised as Lin Mu. Li Bohan felt that she couldn't be restrained at all and only liked to fly outside. However, Chu Xiang treated him the same as before. She kept bringing back money to pay the soldiers and even transported provisions from many places to the battlefield. She did better than many of his subordinates. The better Chu Xiang did, the more Li Bohan felt that he couldn't control Chu Xiang. He couldn't figure out why Chu Xiang didn't have any desire to be a good wife and a good mother. He was very annoyed. He thought of locking Chu Xiang up more than once. But every time he wanted to trap Chu Xiang's words kept circling in his mind. The trapped Chu Xiang would not be the real Chu Xiang, nor would she be the Chu Xiang he liked. She would only be an ordinary woman. Because of these words, he couldn't do anything to Chu Xiang. It only made him more and more annoyed. The war at the front was getting more and more intense. They not only had to fight with the incapable emperor of the imperial court, but also with the rebel army. The provisions provided by Chu Xiang had never been cut off. This made the name Lin Mu spread. Many leaders of the rebel army envied Li Bohan for being able to subdue such a genius. There were more and more rumors about Lin Mu, which added a lot of legends. Some people said that he was the first businessman. There was no business that he couldn't negotiate, no people that he couldn't fool, and no money that he couldn't earn. Some people said that he had the ability to appear and disappear unpredictably. Countless people who wanted to set him up disappeared. He was a person who couldn't be provoked. A businessman with such a legend in the war-torn era was already unprecedented. It was only now that Li Bohan realized that Chu Xiong had unknowingly already had such a great influence. Moreover, Chu Xiong had really helped him solve a lot of problems, allowing him to have no worries. If Chu Xiong was a man, he would definitely make Chu Xiong an official. But Chu Xiong was a woman. He didn't know how to treat Chu Xiong. If he trapped Chu Xiong in the inner chamber, not only would he destroy their feelings for each other, but he would also fail to live up to Chu Xiong's efforts. Even old concubine, you could feel Li Bohan's irritation. Everyone was guessing what was wrong with him. Some people spread old concubine Yu's words, guessing that Li Bohan was worried about being childless. Old concubine Yu also thought so. She felt that she had grasped Chu Xiong's weakness and began to persuade Li Bohan to take a concubine. She even tried to send the woman she had chosen to Li Bohan's bed, which angered Li Bohan for the first time. It just so happened that there was another battle at the front line. Li Bohan didn't need to go, but because of his irritation, he decided to go personally. It was impossible to achieve total victory in war every single time. There would always be difficulties and obstacles, and when there was a wrong decision, Li Bohan was unlucky this time. He was discovered by the enemy just as he was about to reach the barracks. He didn't bring many people with him, all of them were managers, but the enemy had a large number of people. Even if his people could fight 1 against 10, they were gradually at a disadvantage and a crisis arose. Wangye, the east side of the canyon is easy to defend and hard to attack. Why don't we retreat to the canyon and release smoke signals and wait for people to come and rescue us? Li Bohan looked at the situation and made a prompt decision. Enter the canyon. They quickly rode their horses and hid in the canyon. They resisted the enemy's attack and released smoke signals. Chu Xiong was in the military camp doing a handover with Chu Wenyuan. She sent over the latest batch of provisions and wanted to see if her elder brother was safe. She also wanted to help her family send a letter. She didn't expect that Li Bohan would be in danger. She immediately said, "Eldest brother, I will go with you." "Nonsense. You stay in the barracks, I will rescue Wangye." Chu Wenyuan always looked at Chu Xiong like he was looking at a younger sister. He didn't allow her to take risks. Chu Xiong stopped him and said seriously, "Eldest brother, Wangye has been uneasy recently. It's related to me. I must go and save him. You have so many people following him. Nothing can happen to him. Believe me, I can help." The situation was urgent. Chu Wenyuan could never win against Chu Xiong, so he had to agree. He said, "Follow me closely. Don't run around." B. This time, Chu Xiong appeared as Lin Mu to transport the provisions. Lin Mu was now very famous. When the people in the military camp saw her, they were very welcoming because it meant that they could eat and dress well. They did not lack military supplies, so they were very friendly to Lin Mu. At this time, everyone was puzzled when they saw Lin Mu following Chu Wenyuan to rescue Li Bohan. Although Lin Mu was very powerful, what was a merchant doing in a battle? Even if Lin Mu and Li Bohan had a deep friendship, there was no need for her to die, right? Chu Wenyuan had now been promoted to a general. The deputy general didn't agree to let Chu Xiong follow him. Chu Wenyuan said in a deep voice, "Don't look at her. She is not an ordinary merchant." The deputy general didn't understand, but he was in a hurry to save people, so he couldn't say anything. He just hoped that their money bags didn't die. Chu Xiong called her men. There were more than 100 of them. They rushed to the canyon behind Chu Wenyuan. On the way, she heard Chu Wenyuan talk about the terrain of the canyon and the rescue plan. She knew what to do next. The canyon couldn't hold on any longer. The enemy rarely found Li Bohan's traces. They vowed to capture Li Bohan and take him back. Chu Wenyuan and the others arrived and immediately joined the battle, which relieved the pressure on Li Bohan. However, Li Bohan and Chu Wenyuan were separated by the enemy, so it was difficult for them to meet. The enemy still refused to give up. Even if they couldn't capture Li Bohan, they would kill him on the spot. Chu Xiang carried a heavy bow on her back and joined the battle with a long saber in her hand. As for her subordinates, they were sent to rescue Li Bohan. Her men weren't a regular army, but the bandits and the private soldiers she trained knew how to take shortcuts. They used unexpected methods to achieve their goals. She brought out the best elite soldiers. This group of soldiers rushed left and right at the edge of the battlefield. No one noticed what they were doing. By the time they noticed, they were already close to the canyon. The people sent by Chu Wenyuan didn't fall behind. They approached the canyon from the other side. They were about to meet up with the enemy and save Li Bohan. Li Bohan also rushed towards them with his men. The enemy leader seized a good opportunity. He suddenly cut down 2 people and rushed towards Li Bohan. He raised his saber and slashed down at Li Bohan. "Your Highness!" Chu Wenyuan turned pale with fright and hurriedly rushed over. At this moment, Chu Xiang took out the bow on her back, aimed and shot. In that instant, the saber that was slashing at Li Bohan changed direction. That person fell from the horse's back. Li Bohan waved his saber and directly ended that person's life. He looked up and saw that Chu Xiang was still in her shooting position. He suddenly realized that he didn't understand Chu Xiang. He never knew that Chu Xiang's archery was so accurate. She could hit the target from so far away. He was afraid that even the sharpshooters in the army couldn't do it. Chu Xiang's soldiers surrounded Li Bohan and quickly protected him as they escaped the canyon. This shocked Li Bohan again. Chu Xiang's caravan had this kind of skill. What had she been doing outside for the past few years? All the soldiers other than Chu Wenyuan were also shocked. Before they came, they were worried that Lin Mu would lose his life. Who would have thought that Lin Mu would bravely kill the enemy on the battlefield? He didn't show any mercy and cut off more enemy heads than they did. He even saved the prince with an arrow. No wonder Chu Wenyuan wanted to bring Lin Mu here. He wasn't an ordinary merchant. He was a soldier king. Chu Xiang rubbed the slightly painful web between her thumb and index finger. She put away her bow and arrow, opened a path with her saber, and gradually withdrew from the battlefield. In fact, she wasn't as powerful as everyone thought. Her archery skills were because she attached spiritual energy to the arrows. Naturally, she could make the arrows go wherever she wanted them to go. She could make the arrows as powerful as she wanted. It was the same with the saber. She didn't use the saber with spiritual energy, but the saber carried her to kill. This was the most suitable way for her to protect herself. She didn't use it often, and she didn't use the bow and arrow at all. She didn't expect to use it here. Fortunately, she saved Li Bohan and didn't let their efforts over the years go to waste. Chu Xiang rode to Li Bohan. Her people were all by Li Bohan's side. It was safest to go there. At this time, the battle situation was clear. The enemy couldn't hurt Li Bohan, nor could they beat Chu Wenyuan's army. They could only run away. The soldiers relaxed a little, and several arrows were shot at Chu Xiang. She just shot their leader. They had to take revenge even if they had to run for their lives. Li Bohan shouted anxiously, "Xiang-er, be careful." He urged the horse to run wildly. Chu Xiang waved her saber to block 2 arrows. One arrow brushed past her cheek. When she lowered her head to avoid the other arrow, the arrow brushed her scalp and shot off her hair cover. This time she didn't wear armor at all. Naturally, she didn't have a helmet. As soon as the hair cover fell off, her black hair fell down. The soldiers and the enemy were shocked. Chu Wenyuan was the first to react. He killed those people, led the army to capture many captives, and completely defeated the enemy. Li Bohan quickly rushed to Chu Xiong's side. He dismounted and carried her down from the horse. He nervously wiped the blood on her face. "Xiong-er, how are you?" Chu Xiong frowned slightly. "It's okay. It's just a superficial wound." She pushed Li Bohan away and wiped it herself. Suddenly she stopped. She changed her appearance, but it could be washed off. If she wiped the blood on her face, wouldn't she be exposed? She looked at the soldiers present. From their shocked expressions, she understood that she was completely exposed this time. She couldn't hide the fact that she was Lin Mu anymore. Li Bohan had never seen her injured, not to mention that she came to save him. He didn't care whether they were exposed or not. He pulled her onto the horse and rushed back to the barracks. This time, the fact that Qin Wangfei was Lin Mu was completely exposed. The problem was that Qin Wangfei was a well-known demon concubine. She was a jealous woman who would contradict imperial concubine Yu and confuse the Duke of Qin. How did she become Lin Mu? Wasn't Lin Mu a legendary figure with great ability? Lin Mu could even be considered as their bread and butter. It was all thanks to Lin Mu that they could live comfortably on the battlefield. How could he be Chu Xiong? But the truth was in front of them. Chu Xiong was Lin Mu. She could be the Duke of Qin's money bag, kill the enemy on the battlefield, and shoot the enemy leader with an arrow. Thinking carefully, didn't Lin Mu appear when Chu Xiong left the capital? So in the first few months, Qin Wangfei didn't show up because she used the alias Lin Mu to earn money outside? No one dared to believe it, but they had to believe it. Their feelings were indescribably complicated. When the rebel leaders heard this, they felt it was even more inconceivable. How did the Duke of Qin choose this woman? She was so powerful. No wonder the Duke of Qin doted on Qin Wangfei. This kind of woman wasn't just a simple woman. She was the Duke of Qin's right-hand woman. Among all the people, the one who couldn't accept it the most was the emperor. He couldn't believe that the legendary Lin Mu was actually the Chu Xiong that he personally crippled and sent away. Chapter 88. Regardless of whether people were willing to believe it or not, it was a fact that Chu Xiong was Lin Mu. More and more evidence was found to prove this. Because of this, Li Bohan and Chu Xiong quarreled for the first time. Li Bohan didn't allow Chu Xiong to go out again. "Now, everyone knows that you are my Wang Fei. You are not as simple as a subject. Do you know what this means? It means that you are a live target. Countless people want to catch you. If you go out, you will encounter the same danger as me. Do you understand?" Chu Xiong looked at him calmly. After a while she asked, "Are you worried about me, or are you starting to fear me?" Li Bohan stilled. "What about me? Me afraid of you? You don't believe that I'm worried about your safety?" Chu Xiong shook her head. "I believe that you are worried about me. But ask yourself, when you found that I was much stronger than you imagined, did you feel a trace of fear? You don't have to deny it. If you don't even fear this, I don't think you can be an emperor." Of course Li Bohan would be afraid. On the battlefield, his first reaction after being shocked was fear. But he also liked Chu Xiong. He didn't think of doing anything to Chu Xiong. He only hoped that everything wouldn't get out of control. But when he looked into Chu Xiong's clear eyes, he couldn't say anything. He could only be silent. Chu Xiong saw through him too clearly. In his position, he couldn't wholeheartedly trust a person. The conflict between the two of them once again made him feel powerless. Silence spread between the two of them. At some point they had drifted apart. They clearly saw each other day and night, but they couldn't return to the innocence they had when they first met. They couldn't return to the intimacy they had before the rebellion. Now that he thought about it, didn't they just use each other from the beginning? What was true love? He found it laughable. It was laughable that he couldn't see through things as clearly as Chu Xiong. He was really trapped by love. But in this situation, he was the only one involved. This was his greatest sorrow. Li Bohan silently moved out of the palace where they had lived together for 5 years, refusing to let Chu Xiong leave. Even he himself did not know how to treat Chu Xiong. Chu Xiong had long been prepared for this. She peacefully stayed in the Qin palace as her Qin Wangfei. After everyone knew that she was Lin Mu, their attitude towards her turned into awe. No one dared to provoke her at all. Her life was very comfortable. Then, she naturally spread the news and asked her people to stop supporting Li Bohan. For the past few years, Chu Xiong had been the one who supported the Qin king's army's finances and supplies. Although there were other merchants supporting them, once Chu Xiong withdrew, a huge financial gap immediately appeared. The strategist hurriedly went to Li Bohan to discuss it. Previously, these strategists were all disgusted with Chu Xiong. They felt that the enchantress had bewitched their lord. They had thought a lot about how to get rid of the enchantress. Now that they had not recovered from the fact that the enchantress was Lin Mu, Chu Xiong no longer supported Li Bohan. They suddenly realized the importance of Qin Wangfei to them. They were anxious to know what kind of conflict the couple had, so they went around in circles to persuade Li Bohan to appease Chu Xiong. Li Bohan angrily went to Chu Xiong's sleeping quarters to look for her. He wasn't sure if he was angry at Chu Xiong for setting up such a big mess behind his back, or if he was angry at Chu Xiong for not giving him any time to act like she was going to break off relations with him. When he saw Chu Xiong, he couldn't help but ask, "You don't trust me that much. Are you afraid that I will lock you up?" Chu Xiong expressionlessly spread out her hands. "I can't even take half a step out of the palace now. Didn't you lock me up? Here, other than luxurious clothes, jade food and servants, what is the difference between this place and the cold palace? You really can't see my feelings for you. I only have feelings for you. I spoil you, protect you, and even think about how to not have a harem in the future and only grow old with you. Even when you don't like being trapped in the palace, I think about how to let you go out occasionally. In the end, you only think of me as a cold-blooded and heartless person and don't trust me at all, right?" Li Bohan suppressed his anger and stared at Chu Xiong with eyes full of humiliation, as if his heart was being trampled on by Chu Xiong. Chu Xiong lightly said, "I believe you. You used me, appreciated me, and liked me until you were willing to compromise for me. I know every change you make. But you can only give me this much. This is not what I want. What kind of empress do you want in the future? What kind of heir? I can't give you what you want. Rather than becoming a resentful couple, it's better not to start. Today you can trap me in the Qin palace. In the future you can trap me anywhere. The only reason is that you want to do so. You should remember that I hate others controlling my life. Cutting off military supplies is inevitable. You and I have been together for 5 years. We don't owe each other anything. In order to leave, I can do anything." Chu Xiong's eyes were without fear. Li Bohan believed that she could do anything. He blurted out, "You're not afraid of what will happen to your father and brother?" As soon as the words left his mouth, he regretted it. Without waiting for Chu Xiong to speak, he turned his back to Chu Xiong in annoyance. "It's my fault. I won't use them to threaten you. You're right. I should have thought of restraining you. I want to tie you to my side." Li Bohan gave a self-deprecating laugh. In reality, there's nothing to think about. Either I let you go and we'll never meet again, or I destroy your power, break your wings, and trap you by my side. I'll never receive your response. He closed his eyes and said in a low voice, "You know that I can't bear to hurt you. Have no choice. Sometimes I really hate your rationality." Li Bohan strode out of the bedroom. Chu Xiong stood by the window and watched his figure gradually disappear. Li Bohan had true feelings for her. Perhaps she would be the only woman in Li Bohan's life that he would be moved by, but her heart was still unmoved. She could be stone-hearted because she knew that Li Bohan would become a true emperor. No matter how much he liked her, it couldn't compare to the country. Once she clashed with the country, Li Bohan would definitely sacrifice her. It wasn't like she couldn't live without a man. Why should she put herself in such a position? Li Bohan hated that she was too rational. Indeed, if it were any other woman, they would have been moved by Li Bohan and would have been willing to compromise and become Li Bohan's only empress. But why would she compromise? She had transmigrated from world to world to make herself happy, not to make others happy. There were many men who were willing to give everything for her. This kind of reserved love was not within her range of acceptance from the start. She would rather have an incapable ruler who loved her more than the country. They could use each other, they could appreciate each other, they could be friends, but they would never be husband and wife. Chu Xiang walked to the corridor outside the door and opened the 3 bird cages hanging in the corridor one by one. Watching the birds happily fly into the sky, she revealed a faint smile. Li Bohan stood behind a tree in the corner, his hands behind his back as he stared at Chu Xiang. How long had it been since he had seen her smile? Ever since she had saved him on the battlefield, the atmosphere between them had become tense. She seemed to have expected all of this and had never smiled at him again. He stopped here, wanting to know if Chu Xiang had been moved by the matter between them. He wanted to know how she would be by herself after he left. Seeing this scene in front of him, there was no longer a trace of luck in his heart, only endless regret. Between them it had never started, but it had already ended. Li Bohan stood behind the tree for a long time, only turning to leave when Chu Xiang returned to her room. After he left, Chu Xiang closed the window and looked in the direction he had just stopped. After that, everything developed as Chu Xiang had hoped. Li Bohan no longer restricted her access to the Qin palace, and only arranged for 2 shadow guards to protect her. Now that everyone knew that Lin Mu was Qin Wangfei, Chu Xiang, disguised as a man, Chu Xiang no longer concealed herself and directly appeared in female clothing. The Qin army's supplies were all replenished and everyone was talking about her in public. However, there was not a single person in the Qin army who disliked her. Wasn't such a powerful matriarch the most worthy woman for their lord? They were too proud to call her Wangfei, and protect Chu Xiang to the end. When Chu Xiang returned to the Qin palace, Chu Yiru specially made an appointment with her to ask if she still believed in her original idea. With Chu Xiang's current reputation, if she entered the palace in the future, her position would be as stable as a rock. Even if the Duke of Qin wanted to favor her, there wouldn't be many obstacles. Chu Xiang brewed a pot of tea for him and said with a smile, "Father, after Wang Ye allowed me to leave the palace, he specially arranged for 2 shadow guards to protect me." Chu Yiru instantly understood what she meant. "Wang Ye wants to investigate your background. He should do this. The 2 shadow guards he gave me are his best. In other words, he values my safety more than his own. But he still let them investigate me because an emperor is not allowed to have power outside his control." Chu Xiang knew that the men of this era couldn't understand her thoughts, but she didn't need them to understand. She only said to Chu Yiru, "I've already made up my mind and I won't change it. Don't worry. He will let me go and won't make things difficult for you in the future." Chu Yiru looked at her and sighed. "Since that's the case, father won't say much. Go do what you want to do." If a person wanted to be an emperor, there were many things they couldn't do. You couldn't have your cake and eat it too. Chu Xiang had learned all of Chu Yiru's schemes over the years. Every change in Li Bohan's heart was within her expectations. Because of this, she was able to escape unscathed. Even if she had enough power to protect herself, she wouldn't be targeted by Li Bohan. It was like walking on a tightrope. The slightest mistake would cause her to fall into a bottomless abyss. Chu Xiang was able to maintain a delicate balance, so she didn't end up like the countless tragic characters in history. She faintly revealed some information to the shadow guards, allowing Li Bohan to see a part of her power. But it was so mysterious that he only saw the tip of the iceberg, including some of her sea power and private soldiers. This mysterious and powerful feeling made Li Bohan feel threatened. He even knew that if he really wanted to eradicate Chu Xiang's power, he would suffer great losses. Considering both his feelings and his interests, Li Bohan naturally let Chu Xiang go. Feelings played a very important role in this. Otherwise, how could he allow someone else to snore beside him? Chu Xiang's tightrope was a success, so she didn't hesitate to support Li Bohan. She helped Li Bohan advance north and break into the capital like a hot knife through butter. On the day they entered the capital, Chu Xiang and Li Bohan rode at the front of the procession. Not only did the world see the wise Qin Wang, they also saw the valiant Qin Wangfei. When they entered the city, the people on both sides of the road knelt down and shouted, "Long live your highness! Long live your highness!" Chapter 89. Chu Wenyuan had already broken through the palace's control. When Chu Xiang and Li Bohan entered the palace, they saw the captured emperor and a group of imperial concubines. When imperial concubine Hui saw Chu Xiang, her face collapsed. "Impossible! This is impossible! Why did it become like this?" A guard knocked her shoulder with the handle of a knife. Imperial concubine Hui's hands were tied and she fell to the ground in pain, but her eyes were still fixed on Chu Xiang. "You are still the empress. I can't change anything, I can't change anything." Chu Xiang raised her eyebrows slightly. "Shut her mouth." Others might think that imperial concubine Hui was a favored concubine in the palace before her, and might replace the empress. But she heard the other meaning. It was strange that imperial concubine Hui was suddenly favored. She hadn't seen her for 5 years, so she almost forgot. Since imperial concubine Hui reminded her, she had to figure it out. Chu Xiang said to Li Bohan, "This is an old acquaintance of mine. I'll take her to talk about the old days." Li Bohan nodded. "Oh, guards, protect the princess consort." "Yes." A group of guards escorted imperial concubine Hui to stand behind Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang walked out directly, planning to take them to the palace next door. When the emperor saw that Chu Xiang didn't even look at him, he felt humiliated. He said coldly, "Chu clan, you don't greet Zhen when you see Zhen. Zhen personally gave you to Qin Wang." Li Bohan narrowed his eyes and snorted. "Nephew, you still want to put on the airs of an emperor. I'm afraid it won't be as you wish." He looked at Chu Wenyuan. Chu Wenyuan kicked the emperor's back. The emperor, who was tied up, rolled down 3 steps and hit his forehead hard, causing a bruise. Chu Xiang looked back at him and said calmly, "Your Majesty, you don't have to regret it. That day, the prince and I worked together to deceive you into granting us a marriage. You were in our trap from beginning to end. There was no other possibility. Your defeat today was inevitable. The winner takes all. This is the last time you will hear the title emperor." After that, Chu Xiang left without looking back. The prudence imperial concubine was also taken away by the imperial bodyguards. The matters between the new and old emperors had nothing to do with Chu Xiang. She was more interested in the affairs of imperial concubine Hui. After they arrived at the palace, Chu Xiang ordered everyone to retreat, including the 2 secret guards beside her. Only she and imperial concubine Hui were left in the main hall. Imperial concubine Hui was tied to a pillar, while Chu Xiang sat far away on the main seat. Chu Xiang asked, "You and I still became the empress. Could it be that you knew my destiny was precious and that you would become the empress?" Imperial concubine Hui said suspiciously, "You're not Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang doesn't know how to do business or archery." "You're not Chu Xiang, right? Who are you? Where did you come from?" Chu Xiang leaned back in her chair and supported her head with her hand. She said calmly, "You've served me for 12 years and you don't even recognize your own master? It's only business and archery. How difficult is that? I could write poems and draw when I was 5 years old and embroider headbands. I just learned something else. What's so surprising about that?" When the original owner was 5 years old, she secretly embroidered headbands for her grandmother, but she accidentally scratched them and didn't give them away. Only the original owner and her personal maid knew about this matter. Imperial concubine Hui had been amazed by the original owner's intelligence, so she naturally had a deep impression of it. Chu Xiang was still the original Chu Xiang. This made imperial concubine Hui even more unable to accept it. She said in a daze, "How could this be? I stole everything from you and ruined everything from you. I should be the empress. The emperor dotes on me so much and I gave birth to a smart prince. Why did you come back? Why did you help Li Bohan? He should have been defeated by the emperor. Everything has changed, why?" Chu Xiang sneered and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? Could it be that you can predict the future? Now that you're about to die, why don't you choose a way to die? Do you want to drink poisoned wine or use white silk? Or is death by 1,000 cuts better? Let me think about what other punishments there are. How about I try the rod and burning?" Chu Xiang, "I can't die, I can predict, I can really predict, I can tell you what will happen in the future. I can help you secure the position of empress. I can help your family do meritorious deeds. I can do anything you want me to do, don't kill me, I beg you." Imperial concubine Hui impatiently begged and kept struggling. Chu Xiang showed a suspicious expression. "Then what can you predict?" Imperial concubine Hui panicked. I can predict that you will become the empress and give birth to 2 sons and a daughter. Your eldest brother will become the country's general and defeat the rebels. Then he will die of illness. Yes, there will also be a famine. The war destroyed too many fields. Soon there will be a famine in many places. Then there will be a plague. You can let your father and brother use this to do meritorious deeds. I also know a lot, I can really predict, don't kill me." Chu Xiang's face sank and she coldly scolded. "Nonsense. I hurt my body in the cold palace and can't have children anymore. You think I can have 3 children? Who sent me to the cold palace? You're courting death." Chu Xiang stood up. Hui Fei thought that Chu Xiang was going to order someone to execute her. She was so scared that she was out of her wits. Tears streamed down her face as she said, "Newbie knows that she was wrong. Newbie shouldn't have tried to snatch your glory and splendor. It was that system that bewitched me. It was it that I could do whatever I wanted with it and become the emperor's most beloved concubine. I was bewitched by its flowery words. Master, please spare my life, I really know what will happen in the future. Even if there are some changes, the famine and the plague are real, many things are real, I know what will happen in this lifetime, Master." Chu Xiang had also seen some fantasy scripts in the modern world, such as rebirth and transmigration, obtaining some kind of golden finger and so on. She had never filmed it, so she didn't know much, but after listening to Imperial concubine Hui's long-winded speech, she roughly understood that this Imperial concubine Hui was reborn. The reborn palace made obtain the favored concubine system, which could be exchanged for things that could make her beautiful, shape her body, and also for things that could seduce men and make them unable to stop. This was completely using beauty to serve people, but the emperor didn't lack anything except for such a beautiful woman to serve him, so he was naturally willing to favor her, but in fact, he was just using her as an object. This system could also be exchanged for some harmful things, but the price was relatively high. If one didn't have intelligence and wisdom, it was easy to be exposed, so it was somewhat useless for Imperial concubine Hui. In Imperial concubine Hui's previous life, the emperor doted on the original owner, and it just so happened that Chu Wenyuan and Chu Wensong gradually emerged and became the emperor's subordinates. Therefore, after the empress's brother died in battle, the emperor had the empress suddenly die and made the original owner empress. Li Bohan didn't know what happened, but he didn't succeed in his rebellion. The emperor thought that Chu Wenyuan's achievements were too high, so he killed Chu Wenyuan. Imperial concubine Hui died in an accident in her previous life and didn't live for long, so she didn't see the hidden dangers. From Chu Xiang's point of view, the Chu family worked hard for the emperor. The original owner gave birth to 3 children, but in the end, they couldn't escape a tragic fate. These things had nothing to do with Chu Xiang, but the news of the disaster that might happen in the next few years was very useful. After Chu Xiang memorized them one by one, she cleanly broke Imperial concubine Hui's neck. It was enough for her to know about these things. Chu Xiang's power had expanded greatly in the past few years. The caravans that went out to sea brought her a great deal of wealth, and they also left her a way out overseas. At the same time, they brought back fresh species that didn't exist here, and sweet potatoes were one of them. Chu Xiong opened up farmland in a vast valley, specifically to try and grow exotic species. Now the trial was successful and the harvest was quite good. It was suitable for dealing with the upcoming famine. After Li Bohan executed the emperor, he was busy organizing the court and preparing for the ascension ceremony. Chu Xiong began to prepare to leave the capital. She ordered people to send some sweet potatoes to the capital. On the day of Li Bohan's ascension, she gave them to him in front of all the civil and military officials as a gift to the new emperor. When Li Bohan heard the farmer explain the benefits of the sweet potatoes, he was very shocked. At the same time, he was very happy. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he looked at Chu Xiong. In the past few years, the flames of war had continued and the lives of the common people were very difficult. There were already areas that were suffering from famine. Although it wasn't very serious, if it wasn't solved, it would become a catastrophic famine. This was the first problem he had to solve after ascending the throne. He never thought that Chu Xiong would give him such a big surprise. He immediately ordered people to inspect the sweet potatoes. After confirming that there were no problems, he spread them out as quickly as possible, planting them in the famine areas. The sweet potatoes were directly sent out from Chu Xiong's trial planting area, and then sent out by Chu Xiong's caravans to various places. This move was very popular. The common people knew that it was Chu Xiong who brought them the sweet potatoes and liked her from the bottom of their hearts. The title of princess consort had already become Empress Chu in their mouths. The Qin Emperor and Empress Chu were the people that the common people were most grateful to. The husband and wife had worked together to quell the chaos of war, and Chu Xiong had also found the high yield and filling sweet potatoes. The two of them had a great reputation, and the common people were loyal to them. They had given the dynasty the best start. Li Bohan couldn't help but ask Chu Xiong again, "Are you still not willing to stay? The common people all respectfully call you Empress Chu. My country is half yours." Chu Xiong shook her head and said with a smile, "I'm leaving. Taking from the people, returning to the people. Everything that I have will be returned to the people after I die. I am not ashamed of this title. Emperor, you can be a wise ruler. I won't participate in this glory." Li Bohan grabbed her hand and asked unwillingly, "After all these years, do you not have any feelings for me? If I wasn't the emperor, would you be my wife?" Chu Xiong smiled. "If I said wouldn't you feel even more regret? What are you thinking about this for?" That's right, what did it matter if he would or wouldn't? He clearly knew the answer. What she wanted was a man who would wholeheartedly devote himself to her. He had chosen the throne and had no fate with her. Li Bohan tightly pursed his lips and let go of Chu Xiong. He watched her leave in the night and disappear from his world. As the emperor, he shouldn't allow a power like Chu Xiong to exist. But he really couldn't bear to move against Chu Xiong. This was the only woman that moved his heart but couldn't obtain. He actually believed her promise and believed that she would never threaten his imperial power. Chu Xiong had always been calm and rational. She knew what to do and what not to do. He hated her for being so rational and never considering staying for him. He felt at ease because of her rationality. He didn't need to threaten Chu Xiong at all. For the future development of the Chu family, Chu Xiong would never oppose him. Just like many years ago, he knew that even if Chu Xiong was far away, she would still support him, so he let her go. He let her go without hesitation. From the first time they met in the palace to today's parting, everything flashed in front of Li Bohan's eyes. His eyes turned red, but after a while they returned to normal. Even his fluctuating emotions calmed down. From now on, he would no longer have any weaknesses. He would be a wise ruler and she would only exist in his memories. Chu Xiong left and didn't become the empress. Everyone in the palace didn't dare believe it. They were all shocked that the emperor was just a close friend and not a true husband and wife. But Chu Xiong really did leave so confidently. No one knew where she went. From time to time, there would be rumors that she had appeared in the streets. As the rumors grew, they gradually became legends. Some people said that she had an especially handsome male pet by her side. Some said that she was still shockingly beautiful when she was over 50. Some said that she liked to fight for justice and take care of things that were unpleasant to the eye. But no one was certain that they had seen Chu Xiong. She lived a carefree and comfortable life. Many years later, she was still called Empress Chu by the common people. She created a legend that no one had ever heard of before or since. Li Bohen occasionally heard news of her and suddenly understood what kind of life she wanted to live. He could only smile helplessly and let her continue to live a carefree life. The gifts that he occasionally received from Chu Xiong already made him very satisfied. Perhaps the emperor was unable to have true feelings. At the very least, he couldn't keep this kind of woman. It was already very good that they could be like this. Chapter 90. This time, Chu Xiong woke up on the operating table in the hospital. The doctor was giving her an electric shock. Seeing that she was awake, he hurriedly gave her an injection and oxygen. Chu Xiong's head was groggy. Feeling that there was no danger, she let herself fall asleep. She merged all the memories of the original owner in her sleep. The original owner, Chu Xiong, was a 25-year-old web novelist. She rented a house and had slight social anxiety. She stayed at home and didn't go out if she could. She didn't call if she could. This time the original owner had a heart attack. Her parents happened to come to see her and rushed her to the hospital. Unfortunately, the original owner still died. The original owner's heart attack was related to her extremely unhealthy living habits. She ate when she wanted to and didn't eat when she didn't want to. She didn't exercise and often stayed up all night. Her heart had been getting worse in the past 2 years, but the original owner didn't take it seriously and didn't go for a checkup. In addition, the original owner was wrongly accused of plagiarizing a great novelist. She was hung on the wall by the great novelist and was crazily insulted by the great novelist's fans. She couldn't take it and her body couldn't take it anymore. When Chu Xiong woke up again, her body was much better. She looked at the ward. It was a very small double room. The other bed was occupied by a white-haired old lady. Seeing that she was awake, she sat up. "Child, you're awake. Your mother went home to get something. Your father just went out to smoke and asked me to watch you. Don't worry, I'll call the nurse to take a look." The old lady pressed the call button. Chu Xiong pursed her dry lips and weakly said, "Thank you." The old lady waved her hand and smiled. "It's nothing. I listened to your mother. You had a heart attack alone at home. Oh, that's too scary. You're so young. Why don't you take care of your body? The doctor and your parents are all here. You just stayed up too late and your heart can't take it." Chu Xiong was feeling very uncomfortable and couldn't resist the old lady's enthusiasm. Fortunately, the nurse came in time and pulled the curtains around the bed to check her. "The situation has stabilized. Is your family here?" "Yes, I'll be back soon. Let your family stay with you tonight. Call me if anything happens. The drip will be over in 2 hours. I'll come back then. Eat something easy to digest for dinner." "Okay, thank you." Chu Xiong's soul had just fused with her body, so her body was still very weak. After she finished speaking, she closed her eyes and didn't even notice that someone had entered the room. The old granny asked with concern, "Child, do you drink water? Let my grandson pour some for you. Quick, Huzi, go and help her. She must be thirsty since she just woke up." "Grandma, can you not call me Huzi?" Huzi lowered his voice and said, "She's resting. Maybe she's not feeling well. Don't talk to her anymore. Hurry up and eat." "Her parents went out. Didn't they ask me to keep an eye on her? Besides, she just woke up and must be thirsty. What's wrong with helping her?" The old grandma stared at Huzi and frowned. Huzi had no choice but to go out and get a cup of warm water. He walked to Chu Xiong's bed and asked, "Hello, do you want to drink some water?" Chu Xiong opened her eyes and looked at the cup in his hand. She was indeed thirsty. The old lady was kind, so she propped herself up on the bed and took the cup. "Thank you. Sorry to trouble you." "It's okay. You're welcome." Huzi smiled politely and went back to the old granny to set the table for her. The old granny smiled. "Do you feel better after drinking some water? This is my grandson. He opened a gym and is a fitness coach. Don't you think his body is particularly good? Don't people say, life is about exercise? This time you're better. You can't be like before. Your body is the capital of revolution. You have to protect it well." Huzi said awkwardly, "Grandma, you should eat. If you don't eat, it will get cold." Chu Xiong held the cup and drank a few mouthfuls of warm water to moisten her throat. She felt much better and smiled. "Thank you. I should take care of my body. After leaving the hospital, I will exercise." "It's good that you're willing to exercise. You're still young. It's okay." The old granny ate a mouthful of rice. When she saw her grandson, her eyes lit up. Huzi, don't you have a lot of set meals in your gym? Tailor them and recommend them to this girl to see what suits her. Isn't this your profession?" Chu Xiong looked at Huzi. Only now did she notice that Huzi was quite handsome. It was the kind of handsome that was very bright and sharp. His body proportions were also very good. Looking at his exposed arms and the shape of his clothes, his body shape was very good. It was very eye-catching. The two of them looked at each other. Chu Xiong smiled and said, "Where is your gym? I really need to exercise. If it's not far, I can apply for a card and go to your gym to exercise. It's at Zissou Garden. If you are interested, you can come and take a look." Huzi stood up and handed a business card to Chu Xiong. "My name is Zhuyu." Chu Xiong took the business card and looked at it. She smiled and said, "Thank you. My name is Chu Xiong. I will go and take a look after I leave the hospital." At this time, the original owner's parents opened the door and saw that she was awake. They were relieved. Her mother, Fong Ping, scolded her as soon as she came in. "I told you to go home, but you didn't listen. How dangerous were you today? If your father and I didn't go over, you would be dead now." Zhuyu stepped aside and returned to her grandmother's side. She quietly observed the two people who just came in. The original owner's father, Chu Guowei, frowned. "After you leave the hospital, go home and live. You can't live outside. It's not like you don't have a home. Why do you have to rent a house? Look at what you have become." The original owner's relationship with her parents was not very good. Chu Xiong put away the business card and said lightly, "This was just an accident. I will pay attention in the future. The nurse will stay in the hospital for 2 days for observation. I will ask a nurse to accompany me. You should go back and rest early." Fong Ping's first reaction was to put on a straight face. "Why do you need a nurse? I will accompany you in the hospital. Why do you need to spend that money? Can an outsider take care of you as carefully as your own family? A nurse is professional. It doesn't cost much." She pressed her heart and lay down. She weakly said, "Dad, Mom, I am not feeling well. Can you stop scolding me? I want to sleep." "You child." Fong Ping saw her grandmother looking at them. She smiled embarrassedly. "I'm sorry. Did I disturb you? This child has never been obedient. Sorry for making a fool of herself." Her grandmother smiled. "You just woke up and might not be feeling well. Actually, the nurse is good and professional. My grandson also hired a nurse for me 3 times. She's very good. It just so happens that I will be discharged after the 4 drip. Do you want me to introduce my nurse to you?" "No need." Fong Ping and Chu Xiong spoke at the same time. Chu Xiong said, "Dad, Mom, I really want to recuperate in peace. I almost died this time. If you stay, you won't be able to hold back your scolding. You should really go home. I will ask a nurse to take care of me." Chu Guowei and Feng Ping were embarrassed by their daughter's words in front of outsiders. They felt that she was ridiculous and that she was really estranged from her parents. Chu Guowei angrily pulled Feng Ping. Go, go, go. She doesn't appreciate it. Why should we stay here? Let's go. Feng Ping angrily glared at Chu Xiang. You are really disobedient. I don't care about you anymore. The two of them had already heard from the nurse that their daughter was not in danger. They really turned around and left in anger. Chu Xiang did not care. She asked her grandmother, "Does the nurse work in this hospital? How do I contact her?" "Who's contact that nurse?" Her grandmother felt some sympathy for Chu Xiang. She pushed Zhuoyu and urged him to make the call. Zhuoyu quickly helped Chu Xiang contact the nurse and called her over. Chu Xiang was indeed very weak. After eating a bowl of porridge, she fell asleep again. She did not even know when her grandmother and Zhuoyu left. However, she slept very well. When she woke up the next morning, she felt much better. She did not get up. She closed her eyes and silently gathered spiritual energy. It was very difficult to draw spiritual energy into the body. Took her 5 hours to succeed. The nurse thought that she had fainted. However, the benefits of drawing spiritual energy into the body were very obvious. She used the spiritual energy to nourish her heart. The uncomfortable feeling gradually disappeared and her face finally became rosy. She ate lunch and opened the original owner's update on her phone. She saw that the comment section was filled with -2 points. Are you playing dead? Come out and apologize. Do you think you can just keep quiet? Get out of Jin Jiang, plagiarist. You dare to plagiarize Master Wu Shuang's work. Why don't you take a look at your writing? Did you graduate? You don't even have 1% of Master Wu Shuang's skills. You are a joke. Stop writing and get out of Jin Jiang. Plagiarists are not worthy of writing. Immediately delete your post and apologize to Master Wu Shuang on Weibo. Chu Xiang glanced at the readers of the great god Xia Wushuang. Their attitudes were very bad and there were even people cursing and swearing. This was child's play for Chu Xiang, who had experienced all the hate online. She found the editor's Penguin account and sent a message. Qingxiang Chu Yun. Editor, I'm in the hospital. I can't finish this week's list. Hurry. Editor Tingyu. Okay, your health is important. Editor Tingyu. How do you plan to deal with the matter of Shangxian? Shangxian was serialized by the original owner. She was wrongly accused by Xia Wushuang of plagiarizing the Golden List novel she finished a year ago and even used it as a color palette. The color palette was actually very stiff, but it couldn't withstand Xia Wushuang's fame. Many people subconsciously felt that the great god wouldn't wrongly accuse someone who was invisible. Moreover, Xia Wushuang had many readers and many fans who supported her. The scene of her tearing down the original owner was very shocking. It was especially righteous. Those who didn't understand were even more biased towards Xia Wushuang. The original owner was an invisible person who had just written her first novel. She only earned 20,000 yuan and the readers weren't familiar with her yet. If no one helped her, she would be completely pushed to the ground. Chu Xiang thought about it and sent a message to the editor. Qingxiang Chu Yun. I plan to consult a lawyer and see if I can use legal means to protect my legal rights. For plagiarism, the website will have a fair judgment. I'm waiting for the results. I don't plan to fight. Editor Tingyu. It's right not to respond before the results come out. There's no better way for this kind of thing. I've read your novel. There's no problem. Don't think too much. Take care of your body first. Qingxiang Chuyun. Okay. Thank you, editor. Chu Xiang closed the chat interface. According to the original owner's memory, she filled in a leave request form and asked for 10 days off. As soon as the leave request form appeared, the people who were negative immediately saw it. The -2 points became even more popular. Chu Xiang turned off her phone and stretched her body. Write interesting stories one by one. Seemed to be quite fun. Xia Wushuang's Shangxian was plagiarized? What was the point of those stories? Who could understand the story of the cultivation world better than her? Chapter 91. Chu Xiang recuperated in the hospital for 2 days. After the doctor examined her, she could be discharged. Every time Feng Ping came to see her, she would nag her. She helped her with the discharge procedures, but when she heard that she was going back to her apartment, she became angry. What do you want? Did your family make you angry? Does your family want to harm you? Why do you have to live outside? Do you think we're annoying? Do you still think we're your parents? Chu Xiang slightly frowned. She took her luggage and walked to the side of the road to stop a car. I'm 25, not 15. Can live by myself. My living habits are different from yours. This way, everyone will be more comfortable. Mom, don't worry about me. I'll take care of my body. Feng Ping said angrily. You're not going home anyway, right? People who don't know will think we did something to you. Our relatives will laugh at us. Chu Xiang was impatient. She opened the car door and let her in. Then she closed the door and said through the window, You go home. I'll go back to the apartment by myself. Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang. Feng Ping opened the door and saw Chu Xiang get into the car behind her. She couldn't stop her and her face turned red with anger. Chu Xiang told the driver to drive and ignored her. She got this body from the original owner's soul. She didn't owe the original owner or her parents anything. Even the original owner didn't mention filial piety to her parents. She didn't have the patience to listen to Feng Ping's nagging. Moreover, she didn't feel much concern from her parents. Chu Xiang went back to the apartment and checked all of the original owner's assets. The original owner graduated 2 years ago. After deducting the rent and living expenses, she didn't have much left. Later, the original owner chose to quit her job because she didn't like going out. Her income was even lower. Now her total savings was only 30,000 yuan. The rent for this apartment was due in half a month. Xia Wushuang's people had found out her approximate address. It was better to move out. She had to choose a house immediately. Chu Xiang opened the wardrobe and began to pack her luggage. She threw away all the things she didn't like. She was ready to solve the first step of moving quickly. Who would have thought that she would start to pant after working for just 10 minutes? Her heartbeat quickened and she felt dizzy. She had no choice but to lie down on the bed and rest quietly. The condition of this body was really bad. He couldn't pinpoint any specific problems, but overall it was especially bad. Just moving was uncomfortable. She mobilized the little bit of spiritual energy she had absorbed and circulated it in her body. Only then did she feel a little better. She waved her hand and the heaven and earth mirror appeared. The universal mirror floated above her, clearly reflecting her current appearance. She was fat, had dark skin and wore glasses. Her body shape was not beautiful at all. Her hair was also not styled. It was just the most common shoulder-length hair, and the quality of the hair was not good. She looked very listless, and there was not a single bright spot on her body. Chu Xiang had already seen this image twice, but she still felt uncomfortable. She had always been the most beautiful, and this was the first time she had become like this. She was so ordinary that no one would take a second look at her when she walked on the streets. She carefully looked over her facial features. It was a good thing that her facial features were quite good. If she slimmed down, her appearance would be quite good. The previous owner was 1.65 meters tall and weighed 140 pounds. It would not be easy to lose weight. Chu Xiang put away the universal mirror and turned over to lie on the bed. She suddenly thought of the gym mentioned in the hospital. She got up and found the business card in her luggage. She searched for the subway route and then quickly took a shower. She changed into comfortable clothes and went out, planning to see the environment there. When she walked out of the district, she suddenly heard someone call out, Qing Xiang and Chu Yun. She subconsciously looked over and saw 2 teenage girls rushing over. They were wildly taking pictures of her with their phones. It's her. Qing Xiang and Chu Yun. The two girls took pictures while saying, "Plagiarizing dogs. No wonder she could do those kinds of dirty things. So she's a dead fat pig in reality." Chu Xiang turned and walked into the district. The two of them followed her in and began to curse. Chu Xiang knocked on the window of the security room and directly called the security guards to take control of the two of them. This was the district. They were harassing the residents in the district. They were also cursing and taking pictures. Their behavior was very inappropriate. Chu Xiang simply called the police. The two girls were a little scared now. They still stubbornly argued that they didn't want to do anything. Chu Xiang ignored them. When the police came and understood the situation, she went to the police station with the two girls to record their statements. The two girls had a lot of pictures of Chu Xiang on their phones. There were also pictures of the situation in the district. They also said that they were looking for Qing Xiang and Chu Yun to get even with Xiao Wushuang on Weibo and fan groups. It confirmed that they were deliberately looking for trouble. The police sternly warned the two of them and asked them to delete all the pictures of Chu Xiang. They also asked them to apologize to Chu Xiang in person. The two of them wanted to leave the police station, so they could only do as they were told. When they left the police station, they threatened Chu Xiang. When Chu Xiang first transmigrated to the modern world, she knew some laws. At that time, she was afraid that she would accidentally break the law. Now it was just right. She found a law firm and asked a lawyer to help her sue Xiao Wushuang and the two girls just now. She directly posted the lawyer's letter on her author's Weibo and detailed the fact that she was harassed by the two Wushuang fans. Recently, she had received a lot of attention. Not only were the Wushuang fans paying attention to her, but other authors and readers who liked to gossip were also paying attention to her. As soon as her Weibo was posted, it was immediately forwarded to Jinjiang's forum. The Wushuang fans were furious. They accused her of being a thief, pretending to be a thief and plagiarizing Xiao Wushuang. How dare she have the face to sue? Some people claimed to be passers-by. The lawyer's letter didn't mean anything. It was only when the court officially opened a case for investigation. Even if they really sued, it was not certain who would win. However, the passers-by saw the two girls running to Chu Xiang. What were they trying to do? Even if Chu Xiang really plagiarized, it was not a reason for them to harass and harm a real person like her. Moreover, the verdict of Jinjiang's court was not out yet. No one could definitely accuse Chu Xiang of plagiarizing. That would be too much. Since the plagiarism of Shangxian started, this was the first time that someone sincerely stood up for Chu Xiang. However, most people were not talking about whether Shangxian was plagiarized or not. They were resolutely against all acts of human flesh and supported Chu Xiang to defend her rights according to the law. No matter when it was unacceptable for a real person to be harassed on the internet. The actions of the two Wushuang fans instantly ruined Xiao Wushuang's good impression of the passers-by. Xiao Wushuang did not say anything. This in itself was disgusting. Even though Wushuang fans were scolding Chu Xiang in the comment section of Shangxian, Xiao Wushuang did not say anything at all. It was very suspicious that he was deliberately using his fans to bully Chu Xiang. Neutral comments meant that Xiao Wushuang's behavior was inappropriate. He did not restrain his fans and Wushuang fans went overboard. However, this did not mean that Chu Xiang did not plagiarize. She would still be nailed to the pillar of shame. These were two separate matters. Only a small number of authors supported Chu Xiang. After looking at the color palette, they felt that it was Xiao Wushuang who was trying to extort money. There was no plagiarism at all. Jinjiang's Bai Shui Jiangting forum was an anonymous forum. Anyone could come and say a few words. Anyway, no one could see who was behind the anonymity. This led to all kinds of opinions. The debate on Shangxian was surprisingly big. The post had already flipped through several pages. When Chu Xiang came out of the law firm, it was already dark. She could not go to the gym and could only go home. When she reached home, she received a message from the editor. Editor Tingyu, what happened? Your address was found out by someone. Are you okay? Qingxiang Chu Yun, I'm fine. There were security guards around at the time. I even called the police. It's just that Xia Wushuang's fans are too much. I think we should use some methods to restrain them. Editor, don't worry. I've asked the lawyer. They insulted me on the internet and spread it. They violated my personal rights. They will be sentenced. Of course, they can only be sentenced to a public apology on Weibo. That will be enough for me. Editor Tingyu, they really sued. I don't know much about this. I hope everything goes well. The original owner and the editor were not familiar with each other. After all, the editor had too many authors under him. Not everyone could remember clearly. However, these two matters were too big. Chu Xiang was hospitalized and sued the guru and his fans. It was a good thing that the editor remembered her. Chapter 92. Chu Xiang was in a very bad situation now. She was in a job crisis, a health crisis, a family crisis, and a savings crisis. She was basically at the lowest point in her life. Things had to be solved one by one. Chu Xiang had confidence, so she was not in a hurry at all. She nourished her body with Reiki for a whole night. When she woke up the next day, she was full of energy. She listened to Heavenly Immortal on her voice recorder while packing her luggage. This time it was much better than before. She only felt tired after half a day of packing. After resting for 10 minutes, she could start packing again. She was very efficient. When it was time to go to work at 9 o'clock, Chu Xiang's QQ prompt kept ringing. She took a towel to wipe her sweat, clicked on QQ, and saw that it was a message from her editor. Editor Tingyu, Qingxiang Chu Yun, are you there? Xia Wushuang posted a long Weibo to accuse you of plagiarism again. Editor Tingyu. This time, several masters who have a good relationship with her reposted and supported her. Your situation is a bit bad. Editor Tingyu, there is one more thing. Someone exposed your photo. The forum administrator deleted it, but other forums and Weibo have it. Many people are spreading mockery and even exposed your address. Don't you think you should hide? Tingyu also sent her several links to posts and Weibo. Chu Xiang clicked on them and saw the bloody storm on the internet. Xia Wushuang once again took the lead. The long Weibo post was all about putting a hat on Chu Xiang's head, trying to prove that she was guilty of plagiarism. There was also a hint of pitifulness in her words. It seemed that Chu Xiang was an evil person. Not only did she not respect the senior, but she also sued for provocation and refused to admit her mistake. Sometimes it was difficult to prove plagiarism. Xia Wushuang began to imply that Chu Xiang was a high-level plagiarist, and it was very likely that she would not be convicted in the end. She also accused her and her fans, which made her very uncomfortable and helpless as the original author. A total of 8 masters and masters reposted Xia Wushuang's Weibo, saying that they supported her rights and despised Chu Xiang for plagiarism. They hoped that Chu Xiang could apologize and end this matter. Xia Wushuang's fans were heartbroken. They felt that their boss had suffered a great grievance. He was actually sued by a plagiarist. However, Xia Wushuang's accusation that Chu Xiang plagiarized was evidence of slander, but Chu Xiang plagiarized Xia Wushuang probably had no evidence. In the end, wouldn't Chu Xiang escape unscathed and Xia Wushuang be judged guilty? How could this be? When the fans saw Xia Wushuang's post on Weibo, she hoped that the fans would be rational and not implicate themselves because of her. They felt that such a heartwarming post was very rare. She was still concerned about them at this time. It was as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They spontaneously charged forward for Xia Wushuang and posted on various forums about Chu Xiang's plagiarism incident, as well as the fact that Chu Xiang's character was inferior and that she was a fat, round, and ugly woman. When the colorful palette was placed there, it looked quite real. Those who didn't have the patience to look carefully would be misled. Those who weren't in the industry would even believe that the 2 articles on the palette were the same and that it was plagiarism. There were also photos of Chu Xiang. She could see that they were taken when she left the police station. The 2 girls probably weren't happy that the photos were deleted, so they secretly took a few more photos of her. Chu Xiang really didn't look good now. She didn't dress up either. She couldn't be considered an ugly woman. She was just a very, very ordinary passerby. However, compared to Xiao Wushuang's tall and thin appearance, the contrast was too big. Even if Xiao Wushuang didn't have very good facial features, she was tall, thin, and fair. Many fans called her a beautiful writer and liked her very much. Chu Xiang naturally became a fat, round, and ugly otaku in their mouths. Many bored netizens followed the discussion, causing a few posts to become popular. People seemed to never stop commenting on other people's appearance. Actually, this matter had nothing to do with Chu Xiang's appearance. However, there were many people mocking her because of the photos. People who were ugly would cause more trouble. This matter was originally only fermenting in the industry. It was something that most authors and some readers knew about. Now, because Xiao Wushuang's fans were posting all over the place, it had become something that almost all authors, most readers, and many laymen knew about. It directly went out of the industry. This matter was a little big. If it wasn't handled well, it could easily tarnish Chu Xiang's reputation. After all, the popularity was only temporary. People had a fixed impression of her. Then, after a period of time, she would clear the stain, and no one would know. Everyone would only remember that she was a shameless, transparent person who plagiarized and accused the original author. Chu Xiang was someone who had been in the entertainment industry her whole life. She pondered for a while and used 5,000 yuan to buy a water army to control the comments. She didn't need to quarrel with people. She just pretended to be Chu Xiang's fans and unrelated passers-by and calmly and rationally expressed her attitude. I've read Shangxian and Immortal Demon. The content of the two books is completely different. I believe that Qingxiang Chu Yun didn't plagiarize. I support Qingxiang Chu Yun's rights. No matter how high Xiao Wushuang's status is or how many godly friends are on his side, you can't accuse someone of plagiarism without any evidence. Wait for Jinjiang's fair judgment. Shangxian is very good. I didn't expect it to be stopped because of this. I support Qingxiang Chu Yun and wait for the judgment. No matter what happens, Xiao Wushuang's fans publicly exposed Qingxiang Chu Yun and spread her private information. They violated the bottom line. I firmly reject such actions and insulting words. Abide by the law. I hope Xiao Wushuang's fans understand the law. If I don't look, I don't know if she plagiarized. Isn't this something that can only be confirmed after the results are out? If Xiao Wushuang has the confidence, why is he in such a hurry to convict Qingxiang Chu Yun? Xiao Wushuang's fans are really disgusting. They're even mocking others for being ugly. Isn't it good to show your own photos? What does it have to do with you whether she's ugly or not? Is this also a point of ridicule? Is it because you're not qualified to write if you're not beautiful? There are so many things going on in the female community. I'm having so much fun gossiping. Why don't I see any ugly authors in the male community? Everyone is just talking about literature. Does Jinjiang actually need beautiful women to be authors? When the matter fermented and reached a certain level, more people would participate. For example, when the male and female communities were mentioned, many authors in Jinjiang were unhappy. Wouldn't Xiao Wushuang's fans be embarrassing the female community by causing such a commotion? Outsiders would think that Jinjiang Palace was scheming. As soon as this thought popped up in their minds, many people's tone changed. For example, those who did not support either side and were waiting for the judgment. Others condemned Wushuang's fans for exposing Chu Xiang. The most boycotted by everyone was Wushuang's fans who mocked Chu Xiang for being ugly. As a woman, this kind of mockery was disgusting. Xiao Wushuang's popularity quickly decreased. However, because she had the support of several famous authors, many people were more willing to believe that Chu Xiang had really plagiarized. Otherwise, why would the famous authors step forward? These famous authors' readers naturally believed in their own authors and supported them. Together with Wushuang's fans, the comments were posted very quickly. They still had the upper hand and attacked many people who spoke up for Chu Xiang. They even scolded them for being lackeys of a plagiarist. Chu Xiang had never instigated her readers to do anything. Furthermore, she was invisible, so no readers were willing to quarrel with others over her. Many of those who were attacked were just gossiping authors and passers-by. This made their impression of Xia Wushuang even worse. On the surface, it seemed like Xia Wushuang had the upper hand. However, in reality, her image had already started to deteriorate. Many people had already started to take a neutral stance. Just like Chu Xiang's troll army, they were waiting for the judgment. Before they could confirm whether she had plagiarized or not, they would not take sides. Moreover, they were extremely disgusted by Xia Wushuang's fans' actions of exposing Chu Xiang. Seeing the subtle change in the situation, Chu Xiang was satisfied and sent money to the troll army. Then, she sent a message to the editor, hoping that the editor could urge Jin Jiang to review this plagiarism incident as soon as possible. The judgment was the most important. Only with an official judgment would the passers-by have a basis to believe. Editor Tingyu, I've reviewed it personally. I'll leave it to the editor-in-chief and the administrator now. This incident has caused quite a stir, so we need to be more careful. However, it should be done soon. After all, it's already out of the industry. If we don't resolve it now, we'll become a joke. Qingxiang Chuyun. Okay, I'll wait for the good news. Qingxiang Chuyun. Editor, I want to change my pen name. What's the procedure? I plan to start a new novel, and it's about cultivation. This time I've refined the outline. The content will be much more exciting than Shangxian. Shangxian will be updated with 2,000 words a day in the future. The main content will be the new novel. Please report in advance. Editor Tingyu, you're starting a new novel now? You have to be mentally prepared. The new novel is very likely to be negative. Even if Jin Jiang decides that you didn't plagiarize, the aftereffects of this incident will be very serious. The duration of the aftereffects might also be longer. Qingxiang Chuyun, it's okay. I'm prepared. Web novels depend on the content. If too many people read it, the negative reviews will only backfire on Xia Wushuang. Tingyu didn't react when she saw the message. After reading it twice, she realized that Chu Xiang was writing a new novel. The results would be amazing, and the fans of the Almighty wouldn't be able to jump up and down. She had just read Shangxian, and didn't think that Chu Xiang had the ability to do so. However, she still encouraged her. Editor Tingyu, go for it. It's best if you don't update your old novel. I'll send you the document to change your pen name. You can sign it and send it to me. Chu Xiang thanked the editor and went out to print the document. She signed it and sent it out. She called her lawyer and asked him to help her collect evidence. The internet was not a lawless place. Insulting someone and spreading it to a certain extent was illegal. However, most people wouldn't pursue the matter, and it was indeed difficult to sue. Sometimes it might take a year or two to get a result. The result would be a public apology, and at most, compensation for psychological damage. Most of the time, this kind of lawsuit was a thankless task. No one would really do it. However, Chu Xiang was serious. They were so crazy and stupid. Naturally, they should pay the price for their actions. Chu Xiang and the lawyer agreed to sue anyone who could collect enough evidence. The lawyer's fee was not a problem. Therefore, in the evening, she posted a 9-grid lawyer's letter on the author's Weibo and sued 9 people again. She also said that this was only a part of it, and she would firmly use the law to protect her legal rights. After that, she didn't pay attention to the comments on the internet. This kind of thing was too fake. It didn't matter even if she was thoroughly defamed. In the future, she would still be able to get what she wanted. As for the psychological impact of online violence, it didn't exist for her at all. She spent all her energy on her body. The saying that the body is the capital of revolution was absolutely true. After recuperating with her spirit energy for an entire night, she finally went to Joyeu's gym. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.